The last fun fact, the average...
It's 7:30.
We're only 4 minutes into the show. Indulge me. The total spend of a Swifty going to her concerts is £848.
No wonder she's happy.
800 quid on the tickets and 40 quid on what? A glass of Coca-Cola?
Pretty much, no, yeah. Ticket is about £200. I don't know where they've got those from, because that's quite cheap for her. And a concert outfit, 56 quid. Accommodation, 121.
Oh, you did buy 2 outfits.
I did. An outfit change.
You got changed halfway through, didn't you?
I did. Too many choices. Anyway, there you go.
Just like when I went to go and see Kenny Rogers. It's almost exactly the same.
I like Kenny Rogers as well.
Not as much, though.
Not
obviously.
as much, though.
Oh, well, there you go. I was going to talk about wasps, but I haven't got time now.
OK.
Next hour, you can have your moment.
On to the main news this morning. The Prime Minister is going to host the European Political Community Summit today as he begins to reset relations with our European neighbours following years of post-Brexit turmoil.
Well, he's hoping to start talks on shared illegal migration concerns, which could see asylum seekers in return for handing back channel-crossing migrants.
Well, let's talk to political commentator John Oxley, who joins us now. Morning to you, John.
Good morning.
What do we make of this as a scheme? I guess the key point is, although he's got a meeting with President Macron today, this is about the EU and not just unilateral deals with a country like France.
That's right, and it's a whole EU issue. There's concerns not just in France but also Italy, which has its own issues with migrants and voted for a populist president on an anti-migrant platform. And if there is going to be a deal, it has to be with the entire EU. This is much more about just kicking things off, just trying to build those relationships. This isn't a binding summit. There's no pressure to make a deal. It really is quite tentative for Keir Starmer and putting out the feelers about what sort of thing is possible with Europe rather than getting everything done today.
Could it be a reset button for our relationship with Europe?
Absolutely. This is a new Prime Minister. It's not someone who was involved in Brexit. It's someone who is building a new relationship. Not just him, but we also have some relatively new EU leaders on the scene as well, who he'll be building relationships with, who aren't necessarily tarnished by the acrimony and the back and forth that happened after 2016.
But Keir Starmer is tarnished by that, isn't he? He was all for a second referendum. So we were told. He's changed his mind since then.
But that's potentially something that's going to help with the reset when he's back talking to these EU leaders and trying to get a deal out of them around migration and the other issues that this European summit's talking about.
What's this European summit for? Because it was set in place by Liz Truss, wasn't it?
Yes, so it was set up a couple of years ago, primarily in response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And so it's about bringing European leaders together, particularly around security. But the big problem with it, it doesn't have a strong agenda, it doesn't have a strong body behind it. So, for many, it's more of a talking shop rather than something that really produces major outcomes and agreements.
This is a win, though, isn't it, for the government so far? Because I think it was Germany and Italy refused to be part of the last EPC summit because of Rishi Sunak's kind of flirtation about leaving the ECHR. So now he's actually brought them to the table, Keir Starmer, with this by committing to staying in the ECHR.
Yeah, so that has helped pave the way with some of the European countries. And it is a wonderful opportunity as a new Prime Minister. He's taking all these leaders, it's all at Blenheim Palace, it's a big, grand diplomatic affair. So it should be a good way of kicking off those relationships and hopefully building a bit of goodwill that will eventually translate into deals around security, around energy and on migration as well.
But it's going to set a lot of alarm bells off with people, and perhaps with people watching and listening right now, in the idea, at least, that we would agree to be part of a European scheme where they divvy up the number of asylum seekers, if you like, per country. You have to take your share. Well, a lot of people won't like that.
No, but this is something that's historically been the case and, is a big issue for some of the other countries around Europe. If you're Italy or Greece, where there are significant numbers of cross-Mediterranean migrants, Poland that has issues of people coming over from the Belarusian border, which Russia and Belarus are stoking, you can see why those countries are angry too and want to pass this burden around. And ultimately, if Britain wants to try and reduce the small boats, probably one of the sort of carrot it has to put forward in that is saying, from people who arrive in Europe who want to come here, we are going to take some of them, and that's the carrot. And then as well, there will be the stick of cracking down on the migrant gangs.
But it ultimately means that we don't have necessarily full control of our borders, which is what Brexit was all about.
Well, we have control over what we agree to, and the idea, behind the people pushing this deal is if we can agree a legal route for people to come through part of this scheme, that will help push down and discourage and allow us to be a bit tougher on the migrants that are coming here, trying to jump the queue and getting across the channel illegally, and we'll be more free to send some of those back to the rest of Europe.
We know that people crossing the channel, small boat crossings, is a really important issue, isn't it, to the electorate? How much patience do you think they'll have with this sort of rhetoric and talk? Because there's still no concrete plan, is there? We're talking with France about a potential deal to send back some migrants that cross the channel. There's still no concrete plan in place.
No, that's absolutely the case. And I think Keir Starmer's going to end up in the same position, really, as Rishi Sunak did over Rwanda, where nothing really was happening. The numbers weren't coming down. We're seeing now, as the summer becomes a bit milder, these crossings are going to go up. The big determinant at the moment is what's the weather like on the channel. So I think, if you're the government, you're going to want something concrete, and particularly the electorate will be looking for something concrete pretty quickly. And even if there's a bit of the leeway this summer, by next summer, when the weather improves again, people are going to want to see a big downturn in the number of people coming across in these small boats.
OK. John, for now, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
I'd love to know what you think about that. gbnews.com/yoursay. Is agreeing to sort of take our share of EU asylum seekers a price worth paying if it means we can be tougher on people trying to get here illegally? Is it a sensible deal, or do you really not like the idea that we are then tied into something with the EU?
Yeah, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/yoursay.
Now, Donald Trump's newly nominated running mate for Vice President, J.D. Vance, took centre stage at the Republican convention in Milwaukee last night.
Well, he vowed to serve America with everything he has as he ushered in a new era of politics.
Our leaders have to remember that America is a nation and its citizens deserve leaders who put its interests first. Now, I pledge to every American, no matter your party, I will give you everything I have to serve you and to make this country a place where every dream you have for yourself, your family, and your country will be possible once again.
Well, this comes as members of the crowd showed support for Donald Trump by wearing bandages on their ears following Saturday's assassination attempt.
Meanwhile, President Biden has tested positive for COVID amidst increasing pressure on the ailing leader to step down.
Let's talk to former Nevada Republican Party chairwoman Amy Tarkanian. Good to see you this morning. What do we make of J.D. Vance? Because, I mean, I don't know what it's like on your side of the pond, but over here, of course, we really don't know anything about him.
Sure. Well, he's basically a mirrored, younger version of President Trump. I think he's somebody who President Trump can use as a pit bull while he tries to become the statesman of the pair. And he's somebody who is very well spoken. He's calculated. He's smart. Whether if you agree with his stances or not, he is somebody who I think is able to carry the torch for President Trump in a way where many others could not. President Trump has a certain tone and demeanor, as we all know, and I think that JD is going to do very well in emulating that to some extent. If something, heaven forbid, were to happen, I think that President Trump sees a lot of himself in JD and would probably feel pretty comfortable and confident knowing that he could pick up from where he left off.
What did you think of JD's first speech? He vowed to serve America with everything he has.
Well, he was also a Marine, so it's hard to argue that he doesn't mean that. I'm not actually a huge fan of his, but I do like the fact that he did serve in the military, and I think that's a huge positive. President Trump did not. And so I think that adds to the credibility of the two being paired together. And I thought it was brilliant to have his wife do the introduction, and the fact that the entire nation, if not the entire world, is now getting the introduction on who this couple is, who is this power couple. And so the fact that they had her on first, I thought was very smart.
Is he someone who is likely to sort of temper Trump a little bit? I mean, in the sense, I mean, a lot of people like Trump's style, but it's about winning people over again, isn't it? It's about winning those key people in swing states.
Well, no, I don't think that he's going to temper him. I think he's going to allow him to seem the more level-headed of the two. As we've watched in the last couple of weeks, when President Biden is actually, falling quickly in the polls, and we're also able to see with our own eyes that he's struggling physically and mentally. He has very wisely listened to strategists tell him to remain mum. And so I think that gives an opening for somebody like J.D. Vance to come in and play bad cop, so to speak. And so then President Trump can look like he's more of the presidential of the two, somebody who is going to be a little bit more calm of the two, even though he's not calm.
Amy, we've come a long way, haven't we, in 8 short years in the relationship between Trump and JD. Just before the 2016 presidential election, Vance was a critic of Donald Trump, wasn't he? He said that Donald Trump was an idiot and reprehensible. Reportedly, privately, he compared him to Adolf Hitler. And now he's his running mate.
Right. And he actually said, he couldn't stomach him and that he was a fraud. And that actually the voters themselves were idiots. So he's been extremely harsh. And that's where I have a tough time. I think most people have a tough time with believing politicians, and how genuine are they in their belief system? Is it just because maybe you've evolved over time with some of your beliefs and morals and values? Or is it because you are capitalizing off of the situation and you see a possible way of moving up in the world by just grabbing on to what you see right in front of you, so it's hard for me to actually believe that he's actually being genuine. I think he sees an opportunity.
Oh well, we shall see, because obviously, as you say, the poll's running in their direction very much at the minute. Amy, good to see you this morning. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, it's a heck of a change in 8 years.
Oh, yeah, it certainly is. And an interesting choice by Trump, I think. Someone who's been that critical of you in the past to then be your running mate. And apparently they have very good relationships, so who knows? A lot's changed.
It's an interesting one, but as I said, Trump's approach has been more presidential this time. Whether that's a sign of things to come or not, I don't know. But it's certainly looking good for him in the polls at the moment.
Yeah. Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/yoursay. Now, it's 17 minutes past 6. Annie Shuttleworth has your weather.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update, brought to you from the Met Office. It's going to be a warmer day than yesterday today, dry for much of England and Wales. However, it is much cloudier the further north and west you go. That's because weather fronts are really going to linger over here for the next few days across parts of Northern Ireland and western areas of Scotland in particular. Eastern Scotland should remain largely dry, and for the bulk of England and Wales it's going to be a dry and sunny day, the sunshine lasting well into the afternoon. It's going to be quite strong sunshine and it will feel fairly hot in the sunshine. In fact, particularly across the southeast where temperatures could climb to 28 degrees this afternoon, but widely will be close to those mid-20s, so warmer than it has been lately for sure. The rain's going to last across western areas and northern areas of Scotland well into this evening as well. It's a little bit fresher the further north and west you go as well, but it is feeling fairly humid even underneath this cloud. Some showers could push into parts of the Lake District, into northwestern areas of England. We could see some rain across the far west of Wales, some cloud pushing into the far west of Cornwall as well later on this evening, so some hazy sunshine to end the day. But further south and east for much of central and southern areas of England, as well as some eastern areas of Wales, it will remain largely dry and clear overnight. It's going to be a mild night tonight. It could be a little bit uncomfortable for sleeping. Temperatures could come close to 20 degrees overnight tonight, so widely in those high teens where we are close to that more humid air. Now, the bulk of the rain is more restricted further north and west through Friday, so that will allow a bit more in the way of brightness to develop for much of Northern Ireland and Scotland. So temperatures will rise a little bit more, particularly across southeastern areas of Scotland on Friday, but it's the peak of the heat to come on Friday. Temperatures exceeding 30 degrees, potentially across the south and east, widely in those high 20s as well. Bye-bye.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, some good news for you this morning. There's still plenty of time to grab your chance to win £30,000 in the Great British Giveaway. It's our biggest cash prize of the year.
Yeah, so what would you do if you got your hands on all of that extra tax-free cash? Well, no good with just wondering about it. You've got to be in it to win it, so here's how you do that.
It's our summer treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest cash prize of the year so far. With an extra £30,000 in your bank account this year, you could take the ultimate financial holiday and send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. £30,000 could get you those nagging home improvements done, buy that brand new car, or just enable you to kick back and relax for the rest of the year. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Now, do stay with us. Paul Coit will be here with all of your latest sport. That's next.
Tune in to Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan. GB News royalty with your perfect start to the weekend. Lucky us. Feisty and fearless guests.
Well, I'm a normal person, so ask me.
Honest opinions that raises more questions than a Gary Barlow tax return. And a few surprises along the way. Might be cold in this studio. That is Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan. 8 to 9, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, weekdays from 9 p.m.
Should Prince Harry have accepted an award named after a US war hero at a glitzy ceremony last night? People begged him not to, but he did it anyway. It's time for tonight's head-to-head. Well, Prince Harry paid tribute to the eternal bond between mother and son as he appeared alongside his wife, Meghan Markle, at the glitzy ESPY Awards, dubbed the Sporting Oscars last night. The Duke accepted the Pat Tillman Award, named after a US war hero, for his Invictus Games work. But Harry's decision to accept the award was shrouded in controversy after more than 76,000 people signed a petition demanding he reverse his decision. Well, speaking last night, Harry paid tribute to Pat Tillman's mother, Mary. But that comes after Mary Tillman slammed his decision to give Prince Harry the gong, saying, "I am shocked as to why they would select such a controversial and divisive individual to receive the award. There are recipients that are far more fitting. These individuals do not have the money, resources, connections or privilege that Prince Harry has." So tonight I'm asking, should Harry have actually accepted the award? Let me know your thoughts. Go to gbnews.com/your-say. Tweet me at GB News and make sure you take part in our poll. But going head-to-head on this now, a former royal butler, Grant Harold, and the journalist and broadcaster, Laurie Turner. Thank you very much. Great to have you both on the show. Laurie, I will start with you. I mean, The mother didn't want Harry to have it, but he did it anyway. What do you think?
I just think it's incredibly tone deaf. He seems to have an amazing ability to not read the room. It wasn't like this was a surprise because the opposition to him getting this award had been growing. So he had the chance to say, actually, I hear what you're saying. I'm not going to accept the award, but he didn't.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
she could have said, Storm, you made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
It went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Paul Coyte's here. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Oh, all the better for seeing you. It's true.
It sounds like we're starting some old-time joke, doesn't it?
It does.
I say. Who do you think will be the next England manager?
Yes.
My dog's got no nose.
And I think you'll like the sound of this one, who's in the papers today, Ange Postecoglou.
Now,
your man.
Why would I like the sound of that?
Because he's Spurs manager.
Yeah, but you'd lose him from Spurs.
Oh, right. Oh, right. I didn't think about that part of the puzzle.
Look, I don't think there's anything in this one. So what you go, your manager will be England manager, but then it will leave you with no manager.
I see, right.
Look, there's Big Ange there.
They
played in Scotland yesterday, played against Hearts and won 5-1. But he was asked because you're always going to get speculation about any manager when there's a big job like England comes up. Firstly, it's never going to happen. Postecoglou is not going to be the England manager.
What was his response?
His response was because I think it always starts with, mate. It always starts with, mate. I think it was, mate, I was having a sleep. I had no idea. So he's not going to be the England manager. The smart money is going to be on either Eddie Howe at Newcastle, although he's in a very good job at the moment. He has mentioned before that he loves the idea of being an England manager. And it's a job that doesn't come up very often.
Yeah.
So do you leave Newcastle? Potentially, you might take a slight pay cut. But then again, you're the England manager, and and no manager would ever think it's a poison chalice. It's not going to work because it hasn't worked for anybody else. Every manager believes in themselves, and so therefore it could be OK. And the other one is Graham Potter, who was at Brighton, failed at Chelsea, but that was due to other circumstances, I think. And he is a very progressive manager, and he's very good with the press. He would be, and in more ways than one, the press, the journalists, and also the way that they play. So I think it's going to be one of those two.
OK.
Can you imagine the Harry Potter headlines if Graham Potter gets it?
Yes, we will see.
It's all going to be.
It is.
Does Graham Potter want it? Has he sounded open to it before?
They do keep very tight-lipped about it. And it's...
You'd think it would be the job, right?
You'd think so. And you think that if you were interviewed about it, and I mean, someone comes up to you and say, would you want this job? Usually they go, well... Obviously, it's a very attractive job, but and often I'm in a job at the moment. He's not, and he also turned down a job in the Netherlands at Ajax, which is also a pretty big job. So maybe there are words that were spoken because the FA might have expected that Gareth Southgate was going to walk away. Although they did offer him a new contract, he decided it was the right time to go, and I think everybody else agrees.
Yeah, I think so. He's done his time.
Well, that's what I thought for you, actually, when he announced. I said, well, Stephen was correct.
Yeah, you were.
Wrong.
Yeah, you were,
weren't you? He'd go for the World Cup glory.
As often happens with...
I know, but I think we said that should England win. Does he stay or does he go for the World Cup? And you said walk away. I think you said in both instances, though, you thought he was going to go.
Yeah.
Do you think if we'd won, he would have stayed?
No.
You don't think so?
I think he would have still gone and said, I've done it.
I think he'd had enough.
Yeah.
And I think, although when he said he didn't care when the glasses were being thrown, the plastic beer, all this is coming down after one of the games.
No, you care.
He said, I don't care. It's about the... Of course you care. Of course you care. And maybe thought it's time for me to go. So that's it.
Can we talk about Chelsea and Enzo Fernandez?
Yeah, Enzo Fernandez he's in a lot of trouble. It's basically after he was playing for Argentina in the Copa America, which is the equivalent in South America or in all of America, to the Euros, which Argentina won. So they were celebrating afterwards, and stupidly and offensively, Enzo Fernandez involved a racist, homophobic song about French players, which Argentinian fans came up with from the World Cup final. I mean, it's a nasty piece of work. It really is. And Argentinian teammates, you think, what are you doing? And they're seen singing it. You can hear the lyrics. It's all in Spanish, but everybody heard it. Fernandez has then come back, and obviously now he's really got to backpedal. He's saying the song includes highly offensive language. I wonder if it's him that said this or whether it is just given to put out. The song includes highly offensive language, and there's absolutely no excuse for these words. I stand against discrimination in all forms and apologise for getting caught up in the euphoria of our Copa America celebration. So Chelsea have now got to think about how do we deal with this, because everybody, understandably, is extremely unhappy.
Was it just... And I mean, I don't know what the lyrics are.
Right.
And I'm not trying to defend anything.
If you heard the lyrics, I don't think you would. But yeah,
oh, really?
Yeah.
But is it? I mean, on the surface, I think it's just one of these pretty gruesome chants.
Yeah, I think.
But I mean, isn't that part of the?
Well, it's.
I mean, I don't know.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. You see the video, and they're on the coach, and they're all singing this song that Argentinian fans would sing, but you know what it is. Yeah. You know what it's about. You know, it's just, you just do not do it. It's just, and it's offensive. So you can't be seen singing it. And these are professionals. So no matter how drunk you are, how happy you are, the fact that you might be joining in on something, there's got to be something that goes off in your brain that says, can't be doing this. Yeah. So there really is no excuse. So he's now really backpedaling. He's going to have to make a lot of apologies. And it is, I think the thing is the way he said it is, I got caught up in the euphoria. And everybody was doing it, but it is really no excuse at all. So he's got himself in big trouble.
What else have you got for us?
Oh, it's the Open. The 152nd Open begins today. 6:35 it tees off at Royal Troon.
Why is it called the postage stamp?
Now the postage stamp. This is the 8th hole.
Oh, I see. Right.
It's the 8th hole. It's a par 3, and it's because it's little and it looks. There, look, we can even see a flyover. I did this with a kite.
Oh, you're very good.
Yeah, didn't have a drone, so I used a kite. There we are. You can see now. It's the little green there at the end. Now it's very short. It's 123 yards, so not terribly far. Now look around the outside. Can you see all those bunkers?
Yes.
It's treacherous for any golfer. So it's basically like landing your golf ball on a postage stamp. There's one of the bunkers is called the coffin because it is shaped like a coffin and it's incredibly deep. There's been in the Open, they've played I think 4 times at Royal Troon. There's been 1 hole-in-one on the postage stamp. Someone in the Open hit a 15 on this. It is treacherous, and it was the 1950 Open. Herman Tisses hit 12 shots to get to the green. So if you land on the green, you're fine, and if you don't, well, then you're in all sorts of trouble because the chances are you're going to land in one of these bunkers, and they're so deep.
They look really deep.
You just can't get the ball out. So there it is. That's the legendary postage stamp at Royal Troon, and it tees off at 6:35 this morning. They do start early, though, don't they?
They do.
They do, yeah.
Golfers. See,
where is Royal Troon?
Royal Troon is in Scotland.
Oh, yeah, whereabouts?
Well, it's around the Scotland area.
Oh, I see.
There we are.
One.
There's Rory, and by the way, we can hear from Rory too. Rory, 10 years since he's won a major.
It's in Troon.
Yes,
just Google.
That's it is. Royal Troon is in Troon.
Yes, I'm saying, where's Troon?
It's...
Oh, it's...
to the west.
So it's sort of north
of
Galloway.
Glasgow.
Right, southwest of Glasgow.
Southwest of Glasgow.
Right, there we go.
That's what I said, wasn't it?
Yeah, very similar to what you said.
Have we got time for Rory, or are we out of time? Let's hear from Rory, shall we? Rory McIlroy's been speaking. 10 years. I mean, this is hanging round him, and he blew the US Open the other month, and he was in that, and it all looked very good, and he was so far in front, then collapsed at the end. But anyway, here's Rory talking about the Open.
I'd much rather have these close calls. It means that I'm getting closer. But yeah, absolutely, I'd love to be able to, play the golf and get one over the line. But as soon as I do that, people are going to say, well, when are you going to win your 6th? So it's never ending.
He's looking happy, though. He's looking cheerful. Right. So hopefully he does well. It's going to be very tricky. It's got to be good with the postage stamp, though.
Yeah. Lovely. Paul, thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
See you later on.
Yes.
First class.
Richard did
there. It's weak, but I'm trying.
Postman, he always delivers.
Very good. Thank you very much. Still to come, we'll be going through the front pages with writer, columnist and journalist Emma Wolfe and former special advisor to Michael Gove, Charlie Rowley.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. Now, delays are possible as some CalMac ferry sailings to and from the Inner Hebrides this morning because of an operational incident, and also to sailings to and from Skyrace and the Small Isles because of a technical problem. Now, buses replaced Manchester Metrolink services between Oldham Mumps and Rochdale Town Centre after a landslip, and there are delays of up to half an hour with some cancelled trains between Luton and St Pancras Station in London because of an incident. Now, in London, Abingdon Street remains closed off Parliament Square after the state opening of Parliament. In Surrey, various sections of the A24 near Dorking remain closed for emergency repairs after a large diesel spill last week. On the M26 in Kent, there are westbound queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks, and the Cowes Chain Ferry to and from the Isle of Wight isn't operating because of maintenance work. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment.
This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory.
Don't miss My Big Opinion, Mark Meets, and My Take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Go and get another glass of that bubbly, you've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It is 6:36. Let's have a look at some of the newspapers for you this morning. We'll start with The Telegraph. It says Sir Keir Starmer signalled the return of a big government during his first King's speech.
The Guardian leads with Labour prioritising growth and planning to fix the country.
The Mirror says the 40 new laws unveiled by the PM in the King's speech is all about taking back control.
The Times leads with the Prime Minister seeking to secure a new deal with Europe on migration.
And the Mail describes Labour's plans for an employment rights bill as a revolution which may cost jobs and choke growth.
Well, joining us to go through what's making the news this morning is the columnist and writer Emma Wolfe and former special advisor to Michael Gove, Charlie Rowley. Very good morning to you both.
Morning.
Emma, let's start with you, shall we, in the Times front page. The Prime Minister is seeking a deal with Europe on illegal migrants.
Indeed, the Prime Minister, Prime Minister Starmer.
We're getting used to that.
We're getting used to it, yeah. So this is the big EU summit at Blenheim Palace today, birthplace of Winston Churchill, of course. It's a big EU summit in Oxfordshire. And the Prime Minister will be meeting around 40 EU leaders. And it's very much about, I think, resetting that relationship with Europe, getting things back on an even keel. They've been, what should we say, fractious since Brexit. Not great vibes. So apparently Starmer's going to be having private meetings with President Macron. There's potential for a deal in which, in return for sending back small boat migrants, we would then take asylum seekers from Europe. So work that one out if you can. We'll be part of a
presumably the numbers would be smaller.
Presumably they would. It seems slightly taken with one hand and giving back with one hand and taking with the other. I mean, the idea for lots of people is that they want control of our borders. But yes, this is control another. Well, let's see what happens. This is we would then be also part of an EU-wide effort to combat migration. We'd be working alongside the EU Border Force and European Police, and we might also be opting into a fingerprinting system so that we would know when people come over here. We would be able to track them more closely. So these are all kind of potential EU measures on the cards that Starmer might be discussing.
Is it sensible? I mean, I know there'll be a lot of people saying we don't want to work more closely with the EU. It seems like a retrograde step. Are we accepting some new EU sort of style rules? But something needs to be done.
Something needs to be done, exactly. I think what's happened so far isn't working. Clearly, it's not working. We've seen a surge in small boats, indeed, since Starmer came into office. And clearly, I mean, I suppose that a lot of people are feeling how much more money are we going to pour into this? We've already sent a lot. We've already sent, what is it, $500 million to the French. Why has that not borne fruit?
Yeah.
So yes, but. Clearly, we need to work more closely with the EU in terms of borders. Borders aren't a simple thing, are they? They're coming. People are coming through Europe and reaching Britain. So something has to change.
Charlie?
Well, I think the one thing that's missing is obviously the deterrent. And now Rwanda might not have been the answer, and a lot of money went across to Rwanda, but at least it was something. We'll never know, because obviously the election was called before any flights took off on the 4th of July. But it's all very well trying to get people around the table. It's all very well talking about the numbers. Obviously, there's about 90,000, I think, that the new government wants to sort of bust the backlog of asylum cases in the UK, in the UK currently, which is basically what's going to be an amnesty. They'll say yes to those that are currently in the system to get rid of that backlog, and then they'll start looking at the numbers that we're talking about now with people coming across. So there's going to be more people that are coming into the country just as a pill to swallow. But again, the Labour government, the new government, will say, well, this is because of the chaos of the last 14 years, and so we've got to get a grip with it.
They've got a point, haven't they?
Well, I'm not entirely sure, because numbers did go up. I mean, it was a failure of the Conservative government not to get to grips with immigration. That's why they were booted out. But I don't think, again, like prison places. Okay, yes, crisis there and things need to be done. But the answer isn't releasing a lot of prisoners. It isn't in terms of immigration just accepting those that are currently in the system. You've actually got to government's not easy, Stephen, and you've got to be able to have the right answers to deal with these difficult problems.
We don't have the right answers yet. I suppose fundamentally, and I agree with everything that you say, Charlie, but I think fundamentally this is about having a better, closer working relationship with all the border agencies along the way, so that there aren't just this sense that get them right through France, get them onto the boats and just get them over to Britain. That sense that we've had for years now, that there's no working relationship, really.
No, I think that's absolutely right. The one thing that I would caution, just as taking a step back for Keir Starmer, I'm sure he's listening this morning. I don't think he'd be watching I don't think he'd be watching anything else. But the one thing I would caution is that the headlines that he's taking this on himself, and he's going to sort of lead this across Europe to tackle the migrant crisis. It's a great headline, because it's obviously something that we face in this country and across Europe. But a bit like Theresa May taking on Brexit as her sort of, she was the one that's going to lead Brexit when she became Prime Minister, just as Boris Johnson was going to be the lead through COVID, addressing the nation, talking about the lockdowns. Both failed in that respect. And I just would caution to Keir Starmer, I know he's got a big majority and a big mandate and all the rest of it in terms of his parliamentary colleagues, but I think to protect yourself maybe in the early days, don't start sort of saying, I'm going to be the one that champions this, that and the other, because I think it could all come unstuck quite quickly if it doesn't work.
He's taking on a lot, isn't he? If you think it's 2 weeks today since he became Prime Minister, he's sort of basically been all, everywhere, doing everything.
Talking of big things to take on, we're going to have a big government, according to, most of the newspapers this morning. I mean, look, it's very Labour. Obviously, a bigger government is what the Labour Party is about.
It is, and look, I mean, I won't be over sort of, party political. I mean, that's not.
Oh, why not?
Job. Well, I mean, but I think there is a feel of change in the country. There's a new government. I think people are slightly sort of more relaxed, I think, now that the Tories are out because of, the chaos and the confusion and the division that was taking place. And, they've got to get together and work out what went wrong and come back even stronger, which I'm sure they will at some point. But in the interim, they've got to be an opposition party, professional opposition to a government that is now putting forward nationalisation of the railways, nationalisation of energy, banning junk food ads, carrying on the smoking ban, which again we don't quite know how that's going to work. I know that's a carryover from the last government. There are lots of bills that were announced yesterday, and the government needs to be held to account. But what the big thing that I think will matter to the public is how much is it going to impact on their lives for the better, and how much is it going to cost. And I think as soon as you start to hear other commentators and economists talk about how much it will cost, and actually services may not improve, and therefore you might have to increase taxes, I think the fresh feel and the change which people might have voted for, which they did, although the turnout was low, but however many people voted for that change, they might want to change back quite quickly.
Well, yeah, I suppose the argument is, and I'm not supporting any of this, by the way. I remain impartial in all things, Charlie, as you know. However, I mean, things like nationalising the railways, those of us old enough to remember have a slight panic about that because it was terrible last time round. However, it's pretty bad now if you use the railways a lot. So the people will say, well, can it get any worse? Let's try something.
Well, and that is an argument. I mean, I would slightly push back a little bit. I know there's always percentages and the statistics that I wouldn't want to challenge or be in a position to challenge. But I sometimes question whether are things as bad as what the rhetoric and what people have obviously made out them to be.
Well,
I'm not. I mean, my trains seem to all be OK and on time. I like to chat. Lucky me, I know. But it might not be for everybody. I understand that.
Trying to go up north and coming back is almost impossible.
Right.
I think.
Well, but you're right. Yes, the LNER. That's something that's already nationalised or part nationalised anyway. So it is a question about who can run it best. I don't think the answer are mandarins in Whitehall coming up with timetables.
My big question on all of these and all of the measures that were announced yesterday is the money, the funding. You know that old saying about show you're working. The maths don't add up. I just don't know where the money is coming from. And I still think there are a lot of questions about the economic security or the economic future of this country raised by, yes, most of those bills yesterday, but also just other things like radical package of workers' rights, that kind of thing, which I think a lot of employers are going to be feeling nervous about. I think private landlords are going to be very worried about these new bills on renters' rights. And it makes one sound terribly right-wing and horrid, I know, to say that people, that workers shouldn't have rights or renters shouldn't have increased rights and all of that. But I think there are big questions on this.
I think the renters stuff, I don't know, we were looking into that yesterday a little bit, and in some respects it doesn't make... I mean, banning no-fault evictions...
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, it doesn't then remove your ability to get people out if there is a fault.
It's amazingly hard to get people out at the moment. I know people who have been fighting for years to get renters or to get tenants out of properties that they own. I think the climate, the landscape for private landlords in this country has become really tough over the past few years. The abolition of tax breaks and things like that. And actually, Stephen, we need more housing. I know we need more social housing. But, I mean, that's another thing. The government announcing 300,000 new homes a year. Well, has anyone talked to the house builders about that? Because that's not going to be easy to do, let alone without even drifting into the whole area of planning and NIMBYs and MPs who suddenly don't want developments in their local area and things like that. So I think lots of it sounds good, this many more, hundreds of thousands of new homes, smashing the criminal gangs, all of this. And yet again with Starmer, I'm not convinced by the detail. I'm not convinced by how they're going to do this. And I think also... in yesterday's King's speech, where was the NHS? Where was the real plan to rebuild and reform the NHS, which is one of the big things? I think immigration and the NHS are the two big things that people were voting or not voting on.
Yeah, there's still
Didn't
a lot
see
of
much
questions
about that.
on that, isn't there? Yeah. OK, Charlie, should we take a look at The Telegraph? And this is an anti-ageing drug which may help prevent cancer.
Yes. Now, this is interesting because it stops... well, it's about having a longer life, but it means a more healthier life, which makes you live longer. So if anybody's out there thinking, oh, I could just take a few of this new, potentially new drug that comes on stream, I'm going to live longer, it just means you have a healthy lifestyle. So it can prevent... It's a protein that's been trialled on... sorry, it's a drug that's been trialled on mice. And the mice that have taken this drug have lived 25% longer than their other mouse friends
It's always mice.
who haven't. It's always mice. But it's effectively a drug that targets a protein within the body that prevents cancer, that presents or increases metabolism, prevents going grey, and I'm
anti-ageing.
Anti-ageing.
Yeah.
I'm looking down. No, I think it's.
Well, is the hair going to go dark again?
And this is why they're calling them supermodel grannies. It's
supermodel grannies.
This idea that you're not only going to live to 150, you're also going to be utterly gorgeous while you live to 150.
Exactly, and the protein is called interleukin, I think if I've pronounced that right, which prevents cancer, boosted vision and hearing, and improved metabolism, lung health and muscle function in middle-aged mice. I don't know what the age.
Mice.
I don't know what the age is of a middle-aged mouse.
Would you want to live to 150?
No, no, not even looking like a supermodel. That would be a turn up for the books. I don't know about these things. I think we do have a natural lifespan. I think life's quite long. I know.
Well, yeah.
Sort of long and sort of short.
I know what you're saying, but it's not that long ago actually that
people that lived
the average
60,
lifespan was less than that. We've doubled our lifespan.
Stephen, there's something about living to 150 which makes me feel incredibly tired. Can you imagine how much more we've got to go? I mean, I know we get up at 4 in the morning.
You'd have to work till you're about 120.
That's what I mean, I'm very nervous about these drugs. Maybe they need to try it on people first. I don't want to take something and turn into a 150-year-old mouse.
Yeah, I wouldn't. It's the work. Yeah, that's what people forget. Is that you'd have to work for about 120 years at least.
Yes.
Which I
pay your
wouldn't
taxes
fancy.
for 120 years.
Imagine that. President Biden would be like a spring chicken.
He
couldn't say he needs to leave office at 81. We'd be saying, God, he's so young.
Starting. People would still be having gap years.
JD Vance would still be at school.
He would, yeah, probably.
He'd probably be at school till you're about 40.
Yeah, well, he's 39.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be allowed here.
You wouldn't, no. No, you'd be tucked up in bed with
Horlicks or something.
available. Emma, talking of age, actually on the Times this morning, women are leaving it too late to have kids.
This is an interesting one. This is according to the Human Embryology, the Health Fertility Embryology Agency, HFEA. They're saying that the average age of starting fertility treatment has now passed 35 for the first time. There are lots of reasons behind this. Of course, there are social factors, there are economic factors, there's poor access to the NHS, poor access to IVF on the NHS, there's lockdown, which meant that many women didn't have relationships, weren't able to start fertility treatment, all of that kind of thing. I think there are loads of reasons for this. It isn't just the cost of having children. It's not just women delaying having children, but it's also things like the fact that we are all living longer. So life is getting later. People are starting families in their 30s and 40s rather than getting married, having kids at 20, as they used to.
Yeah.
You know, there are so many factors involved. As someone who had my baby, late, I know that, A, IVF is not straightforward, B, it's not always a choice. It kind of life happens to you. You know, whenever you see these stats about people deciding to get married later or start a family later, it always sounds as though women have put it off, they've been doing their career, they suddenly think, ooh, I'm 39, I'll have a baby. It's not really that simple.
No.
And maybe older parents make better parents, I don't know.
I don't know. I tell you what I always think with
good and bad
with older parents is, I mean, you know, I'm trying to throw any shade around, but it's the energy level.
I know, no, you're completely exhausted all the time. And it's exhausting having a 3-year-old, I can tell you that. But I also think you've had your 20s, you've gone completely wild, you've had 20 crazy years. I can't imagine not having had a toddler. Yeah, crazy. Yeah. But I can't imagine if not.
Tell us more.
to have a toddler in my 20s and not to be able to do all the wild stuff. So I think there are, and you've got more life experience, you maybe have more patience, and whatever. I think there's good and bad. But yeah, I do see women in their early 20s who have about 3 kids, and I think, wow, they must be so full of energy.
Yeah. Charlie, some good news. Summer is here at last.
Apparently so.
Today's meant to be good, at least.
Today is looking good, yes. I looked outside the window and it was wonderful. And I think the temperature is only going to increase today and tomorrow. But the Star says that if you look outside the window, apparently it might be raining. So I don't think... I mean, I do love the Star, everything about it, but I don't think it's accurate on the weather today. But we have had a terrible July. And I keep hearing stats that say, oh, yeah, this might be actually the warmest, months that we've ever had on record. I mean, I think that's a load of old, claptrap. Because you just look outside, it's been a terrible July. It's an awful July.
It's been a disaster.
It's not even started.
Cold as well.
Cold, but the next 2 days should be very good. But it does say
2 days at least.
2 days. So exactly. Slap on that lotion, sun lotion, and get outside because it's going to be quite a warm couple of days. But apparently we are going to have a heat wave at some stage. It might just not come as we'd expect in July or August. It might be delayed even until October. So we might be having more of an Indian summer or winter summer, I think, or something like that.
Yes.
But are you a sun person? I mean, I can't get enough, as you can tell.
Oh, yes.
We can remain hopeful, at least. We need it. Emma, Charlie, thank you very much indeed.
Yes.
Let's have a look at the weather, shall we? Let's hope the sunshine with Annie Shuttleworth.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. It's going to be a warmer day than yesterday today, dry for much of England and Wales. However, it is much cloudier the further north and west you go. That's because weather fronts are really going to linger over here for the next few days across parts of Northern Ireland and western areas of Scotland in particular. Eastern Scotland should remain largely dry, and for the bulk of England and Wales it's going to be a dry and sunny day, the sunshine lasting well into the afternoon. It's going to be quite strong sunshine and it will feel fairly hot in the sunshine. In fact, particularly across the southeast where temperatures could climb to 28 degrees this afternoon, but widely will be close to those mid-20s, so warmer than it has been lately for sure. The rain's going to last across western areas and northern areas of Scotland well into this evening as well. It's a little bit fresher the further north and west you go as well, but it is feeling fairly humid even underneath this cloud. Some showers could push into parts of the Lake District, into northwestern areas of England. We could see some rain across the far west of Wales, some cloud pushing into the far west of Cornwall as well later on this evening, so some hazy sunshine to end the day. But further south and east for much of central and southern areas of England as well as some eastern areas of Wales, it will remain largely dry and clear overnight. It's going to be a mild night tonight. It could be a little bit uncomfortable for sleeping. Temperatures could come close to 20 degrees overnight tonight, so widely in those high teens where we are close to that more humid air. Now the bulk of the rain is more restricted further north and west through Friday, so that will allow a bit more in the way of brightness to develop for much of Northern Ireland and Scotland. So temperatures will rise a little bit more, particularly across southeastern areas of Scotland on Friday, but it's the peak of the heat to come on Friday. Temperatures exceeding 30 degrees, potentially across the south and east, widely in those high 20s as well. Bye-bye.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. Disruption is possible to Calmac ferry sailings to and from the Inner Hebrides because of an operational incident, and to Skye, Rossay and Small Iron sailings because of a technical problem. Buses replaced Manchester Metrolink services between Old Mumps and Rochdale Town Centre after a landslip in Northamptonshire. St Andrews Road in Northampton is closed each way north of Spencer Bridge Road for an investigation. Now delays of up to 50 minutes with some cancelled trains into and out of St Pancras Station in London because of an incident. Having Street in London's closed off Parliament Square after yesterday's state opening of Parliament. On the M26 in Kent, there are westbound queues taking nearly half an hour on the approach to the M25 because of road works. And in Hampshire on the A303, the westbound entry slip road from the A343 near Andover is closed for emergency repairs. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
£30,000 in tax-free cash really could be yours. It's our biggest cash prize of the year so far, and you could be getting that winning call from us to tell you that you're our next Great British Giveaway winner.
Oh, I can't believe this.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
That is absolutely fantastic.
We're over the moon.
I've never won anything like this in my life. Oh, you shocked me. I never won a penny in my life. If I was there, I'd buy you a drink.
For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
We'll be there.
This is GB News.
the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning to you. Britain seeks a new migrant deal with the EU.
Sir Keir Starmer looks to return illegal migrants who make it over the channel on small boats back to France in exchange for accepting asylum seekers.
Well, the Prime Minister will outline his plans during a meeting with President Macron at the European Political Community Summit at Blenheim Palace later on today.
JD Vance takes centre stage. Donald Trump's running mate delivers a speech at the Republican convention as he ushers in a new era of American politics.
I will give you everything I have to serve you and to make this country a place where every dream you have for yourself, your family, and your country will be possible once again.
That's as President Biden pulls out of a campaign speech after being struck down with COVID.
Elsewhere, Lib Dem leader Sir Ed Davey is set to appear in front of the Post Office inquiry over his handling of the scandal during his time as minister.
We're asking if the Strictly curse has struck again. The future of Strictly Come Dancing thrown into disarray after apparently a third pro dancer is identified as a person of interest in the scandal plaguing the series.
Metropolitan Police Commissioner Sir Mark Rowley launches a recruitment drive to boost falling officer numbers. We're asking this morning, is it an attractive career anymore?
And in the sport this morning, the 152nd Open is underway with 1997 champion Justin Leonard hitting the first tee shot. Ange Postecoglou's the latest name linked with the vacant England manager's job. Mate, it's not happening. And Chelsea are selling their women's team to themselves.
Good morning. There's a brief hot spell for south and eastern areas to end the week, but how long will it last? Find out all the details with me a little later on.
It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
I don't want to preempt the sport too much, Paul, and ruin your...
Oh, no.
However...
Yes?
How can Chelsea sell their women's team to themselves?
Well, how long do we have? Not very long.
18 minutes.
They say, right, very briefly, they have a holding company that is ahead of Chelsea, that owns Chelsea, and Chelsea own the women's team. So they decided if they have the women's team, Chelsea, they could sell it to the holding company, which means it would free up money for transfers, and then that affects FFP,
Do they make
financial
money out of
fair
that?
play. Put it this way, it does work very much in their advantage, but I'll try and explain it to you a little bit later, once I manage to work out all the ins and outs of it, but it is quite complicated.
OK, we've got all of that to look forward to.
Well, there you go.
It's
Some
what worries
sport
me.
financial news is your favourite part of the show.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, that's
Yeah.
what worries me slightly about sport these days, is that it is so money-driven. Of
course it is,
Does that take away from the people at the top?
Yeah.
Are their priorities not in the right place?
Well, the problem is that there's all these financial rules about how much you can spend, and it's all about profit and sustainability, which is PSR, profit and sustainability rules. So they're saying it's nothing to do with this, but you kind of smell a rat when you think you own the women's team, so you are going to sell it for so many tens of millions to the parent company, which means a load of money is now going to come back to Chelsea, which then works out as profit that they've made, then they'll be able to spend it elsewhere. So I'm not saying that's the reason, but it kind of makes sense. But it's so much money-driven. Yeah. That's the worry. We just want to enjoy the sport, don't we?
Yeah.
We do.
Just want to enjoy the sport.
All right, Paul, thank you.
Did that make any sense?
Yes, it did.
OK, fine.
It did, with my financial head on.
OK.
Yeah.
Lots of your views coming in. Do keep them coming in. Lots of you talking about women having children later on in life. Duncan says 20-year-olds are mentally mature enough to have kids, but they're still being reminded to brush their own teeth. And Susan says, imagine that a mother has a child at 40 and then that child has their first child at 40 and so on. It changes the whole family dynamic. Unless, of course, they all live to 150, she says.
Which may be what's going to happen if you
Maybe
take this new drug.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, it does change it all a lot, but because I don't have children, can't really comment.
No, neither can I yet. No.
No.
Well, lucky I'm here then, isn't it?
How old were you when you had yours?
40.
Oh, were you?
I've got a son of 16 and a daughter of 18, and the thing is, I'm trying to get away with 43 years old. And now I've realised that maybe that's not going to work out for me.
You've blown it now.
Yeah, actually, no, that's not right.
But, so
38 and 40 was what it was.
So you're an older parent.
Yeah, but you know what? Loads of people are doing that now because you have your fun when you're younger, and then you get all responsible a little older.
Oh, you sound like Emma Wolf. All your fun in your 20s.
That's exactly what happened with me.
You're going to have to work till you're 75.
Exactly, yeah. Well, that's more than likely. I'll probably have to do that anyway.
Yeah.
And just one on Labour's migrant deal with the EU. Jack says Labour's EU migrant return agreement, any agreement between the UK and EU returns will only increase the overall illegal immigrants. The UK will be forced to take a set number of EU migrants and it won't stop the boats, says Jack.
Well, that's our top story this morning because the PM is hosting this European Political Community Summit today. It's in Blenheim Palace. It's trying to reset relations with our European neighbours following turmoil after Brexit.
Well, he's hoping to start talks on shared illegal migration concerns, which could see us take asylum seekers in return for handing back channel-crossing migrants.
Political commentator John Oxley is here. All right, what do we make of the comments, John, that are coming in saying, well, all right, so we get the set numbers of people that we have to take in. There's no guarantee it's going to stop illegal migration.
Absolutely not. And so I think what Keir Starmer is trying to do here is balance things out. We heard in the King's speech yesterday further rules about, or plans for further laws that will allow the government to combat the people smuggling gangs. And so what they are hoping will happen is this will kind of be the carrot that allows us to manage migration a bit more and who comes here. And the stick will be a clampdown, engaging with French authorities in particular, really going after these gangs, stopping these boats before they set out. But really, both sides of that have to work.
Forgive me, though, but is there a sense with that, then, that France isn't doing what it could do anyway?
I think there's a sense that France could be doing a lot more. And if you see it from the French perspective, they have their own political pressures. And actually, for them, it's quite handy if these people are getting on boats and going over to the UK because it's fewer migrants France have to look after. But also, we sort of have to remember in this that there's a group of migrants who are very determined to come to the UK above going to any other option in Europe. And that's one of the real hard problems we have to solve with this.
It makes people very nervous, doesn't it? Not only closer ties to Europe, but more money to France. I mean, they've already had £500 million or so.
Yeah, because that's the other thing that France are saying, again, quite tactically, if you want us to do more of these things, then you're going to have to help share some of the cost burden of paying for it. But I think, you know, one of the examples that I would talk about here is this is actually quite similar to what the Spanish did with Morocco when you know, Mediterranean migrants were first an issue, and there it did seem to help. It managed to slow down some of the migration, and it did help Morocco in particular tackle the smuggling gangs where they were setting out from. Okay. So maybe it will work.
OK. John, thank you. Let's talk to the Shadow Defence Secretary, James Cartlidge, who joins us now. Good to see you this morning. I mean, look, everything which your government put in place didn't seem to work, and of course the Rwanda scheme never got off the ground. So is it time to look at something different and perhaps work more closely with our EU neighbours on this?
I think the first thing to say is, and thank you for having me on your show, obviously the priority here, as your viewers will, I'm sure, agree, we obviously want to have a way of deterring people from seeking to cross the English Channel in the first place. That's why we sought to put in place those measures in relation to Rwanda. Obviously, we were blocked first by the courts and then in Parliament, in the House of Lords. And, you know, we had to fight a long way to eventually have legislation in place to support the Rwanda scheme. We've held a general election and the result is very clear. So obviously, now that we have a new government, we do want them to succeed. And I think it's right that Keir Starmer is engaging with his European partners. But, and I think this is the key thing, as you've already alluded to, in any deal with the EU or with other nations, what is the quid pro quo? What will we have to give up as a country in order to get that deal? Now, there's nothing on the table. We all know how complex these things can be. But I think that would be my concern, that there still wouldn't be a core deterrent to stop people from seeking to cross the sea in the first place.
Do you have regrets over the Rwanda plan, or do you have regrets over the fact that the Tories couldn't get a grip on illegal migration? Because if you had established that deterrent, whether it be Rwanda or something else, then perhaps the defeat wouldn't have been so great at the general election.
Well, I think people were frustrated. I mean, I knocked on hundreds and hundreds of doors in my constituency. People were very frustrated about the small boats issue. Of course, I'm bound to point out numbers did fall by a third last year. There were significant successes, for example, in relation to crossings, individuals from Albania. Lots of positive measures were put in place to address the people smugglers who we shouldn't forget are ultimately responsible for this terrible traffic with the huge risk it poses to human life. But I just feel whatever deal is in place, people will cross the channel unless there is something to deter them from doing so. And whatever one thinks of it, and a lot of people didn't agree with it, the idea of processing in a third country, i.e. Rwanda, we believe would have been a deterrent. I do regret the fact we couldn't get that formally in place. Of course, many things stop that from happening. But it has to be said as well that there will presumably be countries attending this summit who are considering that kind of third country processing anyway. We know that the Austrian leader, when he visited, was expressed interest. So I think we were going in the right direction. I think it was the right policy, tough, whatever you think of it. But it's now, Labour is a new government. We want them to succeed. And I hope that when he does engage with his fellow leaders in Europe, that he doesn't give up easily any quid pro quo which will damage this country or force us to take significant numbers of asylum seekers. I think at the end of the day, and your viewers know this, we have to be able to deter them from crossing in the first place.
Well, can I ask you about the leadership within your own party? What sort of timing would you like to see on all of this? Because there are big questions about how long you're going to be in this state of limbo at a time when, I mean, no one's put themselves officially forward yet to try and be the leader, try and be the new leader of His Majesty's opposition. 1922 committee hasn't got the rules in place yet, and as a result, I mean, what is the Conservatives' direction? What are your policies? What is your strategy? I mean, you don't even know what you're going to stand for yet until that new leader is in place. I mean, it must be incredibly frustrating.
No, I mean, this is inevitable when you've had the sort of election result we've had. And I think that the view of colleagues is to take our time over this. I appreciate that there will be those who would think, well, we want a new leader of the opposition in place. I take the view, and I think most of my colleagues do, that we want to take our time, make sure we make the right decision, that we fully analyse what happened in the election, we engage with the public again, and of course then choose a leader who sets out a positive direction for the party so that we can be a real constructive alternative to Labour. But just to be clear, you say we're in limbo. I mean, we will be conducting our constitutional role as the official opposition. Today we are holding a debate on foreign affairs and defence. We've chosen those subjects in the House of Commons. I'll be winding up, and I want to be clear, I'll be calling Labour to account over their failure to go to 2.5% spending on defence. That is a massive issue. It's not some abstract point. I think that their failure to go to 2.5% to give certainty will damage our armed forces. So these are real issues. We are opposing them. We are holding them to account. But of course, equally, we will be positive and constructive where it's in the national interest. For example, we will continue to support them strongly over Ukraine. So we will be an effective opposition. But yes, we will take our time as a party to elect our new leader and ensure that we have those detailed discussions about ultimately what went wrong in the election campaign.
To be fair to Sir Keir Starmer, though, he has restated his commitment to get to 2.5% defence spending of GDP, but he hasn't yet set that clear date. It's the timeline that he hasn't specified, but he has said he wants to get to 2.5%. I did want to ask you about this event at the Carlton Club, which is in the papers today. It's been described as a wake for the Tory party. 251 Tory MPs were invited, those that lost their seats. Only 120 of those MPs actually showed up. Reportedly, there were tears, and reportedly, Rishi Sunak apologised 8 times for the scale of the defeat at the general election. What is the mood like in your party at the moment?
Well, if you'll forgive me, I wasn't at the event. I'm sure, colleagues who lost their seats, it is a traumatic experience to lose your seat in a general election, I'm sure. But if you'll forgive me, I do think it's fundamentally more important to talk about what you just dismissed quite lightly, this point of not going to 2.5%. Just to be clear, and I was Minister for Defence Procurement before we lost the election, not going to 2.5% and setting a timetable will have an immediate impact on the Ministry of Defence. And I want to give you one key example, if I may. We have given and gifted a lot of munitions to Ukraine. Our stocks were already lower because of the so-called peace dividend. We know that the world has now changed. As a result of 2.5% and having a definitive timeline, we were able to commit an extra £10 billion over the next 10 years to buying munitions to get the stockpiles back up to a warfighting capability for the Army, Navy and Air Force. Now, without that commitment, what is going to happen to that replenishment of our munitions? I think that's a much more important subject to talk about with respect than what happened at the Carlton Club. And my view is that this is a dereliction of duty by the Prime Minister. He went out to Washington. He did the right thing, supporting NATO. It's brilliant. He's been very robust on his support for NATO. But without setting a clear timeline, the Ministry of Defence will have to start making some very difficult decisions if it is to proceed with buying those munitions, because the money wasn't there without a timeline to 2.5%. So it really does matter, and I don't agree with your point that he's committed to 2.5%. We haven't seen the detail yet.
Yeah, but look, some people will find it a bit rich coming from a party who, when in government, cut the troop numbers in the UK Armed Forces to their smallest size for generations. I mean, the argument is, of course, that it's since 2010 that all these numbers have been absolutely slashed and spending has gone down. And so, in a way, what you were providing at the election was a solution to a problem you created.
Well, you talk about 2010, and I'm grateful that you do, because, of course, in 2010, when we came to power and Labour left office last time, as you know, there was a note that there's no money left, and the deficit, the percentage of GDP of the deficit, was well north of 10%. The mission, to use Keir Starmer's language, that we had was to save this country from bankruptcy, as so often happens when the socialists run out of other people's money. And we delivered on that, and it took some very tough decisions in every single spending department, and I accept that. But the fact is, when Rishi Sunak was Chancellor of the Exchequer, we had the biggest increase in defence spending since the Cold War. And more recently, as we've seen threats growing, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the situation in respect to the Red Sea, where our own naval ships have been under attack, we committed to 2.5% not because it's some good to have, nice to have additional amount of investment. It's absolutely necessary if the military is to replenish its munitions and be able to be an effective fighting force. And you can talk about troop numbers. It might be that you think that is the thing we should be looking at. I think fundamentally we need to look at ensuring the lethality and survivability of our existing armed forces, our ships, our planes, our troops when they are deployed, and that will not be effective if they don't have the munitions in place, which is why we had that 2.5% plan. It's a very real, tangible issue, and I will be raising it in Parliament later today.
Okay. James Cartlidge, good to see you this morning. Thank you.
Now, across the Atlantic, Donald Trump's newly nominated running mate, J.D. Vance, took centre stage at the Republican convention in Milwaukee.
Well, he vowed to serve America with everything he has as he ushered in what he says is a new era of politics.
Our leaders have to remember that America is a nation and its citizens deserve leaders who put its interests first. Now, I pledge to every American, no matter your party, I will give you everything I have to serve you and to make this country a place where every dream you have for yourself, your family, and your country will be possible once again.
Well, all of this comes as members of the crowd showed support for Donald Trump by wearing bandages on their ears following Saturday's assassination attempt.
Well, meanwhile, President Biden has tested positive for COVID amidst increasing pressure on him to step down.
Well, earlier we spoke to former Nevada Republican Party chairwoman Amy Tarkanian.
He's somebody who President Trump can use as a pit bull while he tries to become the statesman of the pair. And he's somebody who is very well spoken. He's calculated. He's smart. Whether if you agree with his stances or not, he is somebody who I think is able to carry the torch for President Trump in a way where many others could not. President Trump has a certain tone and demeanor, as we all know, and I think that JD is going to do very well in emulating that to some extent. If something, heaven forbid, were to happen, I think that President Trump sees a lot of himself in JD and would probably feel pretty comfortable and confident knowing that he could pick up from where he left off.
What did you think of JD's first speech? He vowed to serve America with everything he has.
Well, he was also a Marine, so it's hard to argue that he doesn't mean that. I'm not actually a huge fan of his, but I do like the fact that he did serve in the military, and I think that's a huge positive. President Trump did not. And so I think that adds to the credibility of the two being paired together. And I thought it was brilliant to have his wife do the introduction, and the fact that the entire nation, if not the entire world, is now getting the introduction on who this couple is, who is this power couple. And so the fact that they had her on first, I thought was very smart.
Is he someone who is likely to sort of temper Trump a little bit? I mean, in the sense, I mean, a lot of people like Trump's style, but it's about winning people over again, isn't it? It's about winning those key people in swing states.
Well, no, I don't think that he's going to temper him. I think he's going to allow him to seem the more level-headed of the two. As we've watched in the last couple of weeks, when President Biden is actually, falling quickly in the polls, and we're also able to see with our own eyes that he's struggling physically and mentally. He has very wisely listened to strategists tell him to remain mum. And so I think that gives an opening for somebody like J.D. Vance to come in and play bad cop, so to speak. And so then President Trump can look like he's more of the presidential of the two, somebody who is going to be a little bit more calm of the two, even though he's not calm.
Well, our reporter Ray Addison asked Republicans there just what they think of J.D. Vance.
I thought he did a great job. I think what he's going to do is provide stability and support for Donald Trump that he needed, and we're excited about him.
What did he say that really struck a chord with you?
I think talking about the American worker and how we want to bring things back to America, making sure that we don't allow China to continue to erode our economy through their actions, and it's going to be exciting to see him and President Trump back in power.
You know, I think that after hearing him speak tonight, I thought he was a much better choice, and he really has a story to tell.
What did you guys think of JD?
Amazing. Can't wait to see what he does.
Why'd you like him?
He's got everything. He's a young father. He's got a gorgeous, beautiful wife. He's a conservative. What's not to like?
He represents the Rust Belt, which is what we need. We need Pennsylvania, we need Michigan, we need Wisconsin. He's the Rust Belt, so that's pretty cool.
How did he turn it around for you? What specifically did he say?
Well, to talk about how his mother went through addiction, and I mean, he came out of nowhere, out of poverty, and what I love is a lot of people yesterday have kind of made amends with Trump, and I think what happened on Saturday really changed people's minds. That he is a person and he's a human and he suffers like we do. And I tell you what, though, I'm excited about J.D. Vance. I'm excited. I mean, he came out of nowhere. I mean, he's a rising star. I mean, he's only 39, 40 years old. I mean, he's got a long life in the political party.
Oh, I think he's very excellent choice for vice president. He had a dynamic speech. He comes from very humble beginnings, and it's like make America great again, the opportunities that are here, and we need to keep it here, and that's what he's going to make an effort to do with President Trump.
I thought it was energetic. I thought it was what we needed to hear and what the country needed to hear. Yeah, he is our best choice.
That's what I don't understand. I don't understand American politics.
Why?
In the sense that, you know, you can basically have, you know, you get a vice president or someone who's very likely to be vice president out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Most people sort of haven't heard of before. He's just picked. And then there's those ladies saying, well, what's not to like? He's a young father with a beautiful wife. Like, that matters.
It's optics, though, clearly. It matters, having a beautiful wife introducing you to the stage and being a family man and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, when Amy Tarkanian, who knows the stuff, was saying, oh, it's really important that his wife introduced him. Why? That's what I don't understand. I care about policies, what people aim to do, not whether they've got a beautiful wife or managed to father a child or whatever. You know what I mean?
Compare it to his, to Keir Starmer. I mean, you barely saw his wife Victoria on the campaign trail, did you? Until he actually won, you didn't really see her.
No, see, I quite liked that.
Yeah.
I quite like that. I sort of think, keep them out of it. They're not the ones you're voting for.
Well, clearly it sells something to the American public, that family man image. Let us know what you think. It's very interesting how much has changed in 8 short years.
Yes, when
J.D. Vance
called him and called Trump a Nazi.
Yeah, very critical of Trump in the past, called him an idiot and said he was reprehensible. Yeah. And now he's his running mate.
So...
remarkable, really, isn't it?
There you go. Well, let's hope we hear more about what he stands for, rather than whether he's got an attractive spouse.
Yes. Well, at 25 minutes past 7, should we take a look at the weather?
Yeah.
With Annie, let's hope it's nice and sunny today.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. It's going to be a warmer day than yesterday today, dry for much of England and Wales. However, it is much cloudier the further north and west you go. That's because weather fronts are really going to linger over here for the next few days across parts of Northern Ireland and western areas of Scotland in particular. Eastern Scotland should remain largely dry, and for the bulk of England and Wales it's going to be a dry and sunny day, the sunshine lasting well into the afternoon. It's going to be quite strong sunshine and it will feel fairly hot in the sunshine. In fact, particularly across the southeast where temperatures could climb to 28 degrees this afternoon, but widely will be close to those mid-20s, so warmer than it has been lately for sure. The rain's going to last across western areas and northern areas of Scotland well into this evening as well. It's a little bit fresher the further north and west you go as well, but it is feeling fairly humid even underneath this cloud. Some showers could push into parts of the Lake District, into northwestern areas of England. We could see some rain across the far west of Wales, some cloud pushing into the far west of Cornwall as well later on this evening, so some hazy sunshine to end the day. But further south and east for much of central and southern southern areas of England as well as the eastern areas of Wales. It will remain largely dry and clear overnight. It's going to be a mild night tonight. It could be a little bit uncomfortable for sleeping. Temperatures could come close to 20 degrees overnight tonight, so widely in those high teens when we are close to that more humid air. Now, the bulk of the rain is more restricted further north and west through Friday, so that will allow a bit more in the way of brightness to develop for much of Northern Ireland and Scotland. So temperatures will rise a little bit more, particularly across southeastern areas of Scotland on Friday, but it's the peak of the heat to come on Friday. Temperatures exceeding 30 degrees, potentially across the south and east, widely in those high 20s as well. Bye-bye.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, there is still plenty of time to get a chance to win £30,000 in the Great British Giveaway. It's our biggest cash prize of the year so far.
Yes, so have a think. What would you do with that extra cash? Here's how you could win it all.
£30,000 in tax-free cash really could be yours. It's our biggest cash prize of the year so far, and you could be getting that winning call from us to tell you that you're our next Great British Giveaway winner.
Oh, I can't believe this.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
That is absolutely fantastic.
We're over the moon.
I've never won anything like this in my life.
Oh, you shocked me. I never won a penny in my life.
If I was there, I'd buy you a drink.
For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Oh, yes, good luck to you.
Do stay with us. Still to come, we're going to have the latest on the Post Office inquiry, where Sir Ed Davey will be taking the stand later today.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Tune in to Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan.
GB News royalty with
your perfect start to the weekend. Lucky us. Feisty and fearless guests.
Well, I'm a normal person, so ask me.
Honest opinions.
That raises more questions than a Gary Barlow tax return.
And a few surprises along the way.
Might be cold in this studio.
That is Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan. 8 to 9, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threats on.
As time passes,
She could have said Storm.
you made my argument for me.
My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's 7:32. Now, the Post Office inquiry continues today with Sir Ed Davey taking the stand.
Yes, the Liberal Democrat leader faced intense criticism over the scandal during his time as Postal Affairs Minister.
Well, according to reports, he initially refused to meet campaigning sub-postmaster Sir Alan Bates 15 years ago, but he's always said, of course, he did actually meet him at some point.
Well, joining us now is former postmaster and Post Office scandal victim Christopher Head. Good to see you this morning, Christopher.
Good morning.
And how will you feel to see Sir Ed Davey take to the stand today, considering that the Post Office scandal has hugely affected your life?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's another important piece of the jigsaw. I mean, probably over the last few weeks, we've been hearing from senior Post Office executives, from shareholder executives, and now we're obviously on to the ministers involved. And, we'll hear from Pat McFadden first and then Sir Ed Davey later. And so we just want them to know exactly what they were told and what questions they asked, if anything, And, we just need to be able to understand how this was allowed to happen and to ensure that, this doesn't happen again.
More important to you than... I mean, because the one thing with Sir Ed Davey and why he faced a particular amount of criticism was when he was asked about it in an interview, he refused to apologise. He couldn't bring himself to say, look, I'm sorry for what happened, partly under my watch.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I just don't understand from any part of that. I mean, no matter what role you've played in this, the first thing that anybody want to do, if, with sincerity, would be to say, I'm sorry for my part, and, I should have done more, and that should be very easy for someone to do. And, if they, feel like they've done absolutely nothing wrong, that they did their job to the best of their ability. And I think that's probably the hardest part for people to swallow, that, that you couldn't stand up and just say, look, I should have done more. I wish I'd done more, and I'm sorry for everything that's gone on. And as you say, he wasn't able to do that.
Would an apology on the stand today really matter to you? Would it make a difference alongside, of course, compensation?
Well, I think again that's very difficult. I mean, the apologies now. I mean, we've heard them from so many people over and over again, and it's hard to understand whether they're actually they mean anything. And I always say to people that an apology is better at the end once this is all over. So, for example, once people have been fully compensated, once we've had some kind of accountability, maybe then, once everybody has been put back into the position they should have been in, maybe the apologies will be accepted a bit more.
I mean, the problem with all of this is that the blame is always passed, isn't it? And I'm not saying people are, necessarily guilty of anything here, and perhaps it is about the information they were given and all the rest of it. But it seems very difficult, if not impossible, to actually get to the bottom of this and to be able to say, this person or this group of people are the ones who fundamentally did something wrong. No one's actually holding their hands up to anything.
Absolutely not. I mean, as we've seen over these past few weeks, the Post Office are blaming the lawyers. We've got the UK government departments are blaming the Post Office executives. We're getting the ministers, as we saw from the first one yesterday, Kelly Tolhurst. They're saying that they were misled by their officials. They weren't given the true story. The Post Office weren't passing on the information to them so that they could, have a full oversight of what was going on. So, as you say, it's just a complete round of book passing. And I think what it is highlighting, though, is that the system that we have in order to manage publicly owned organisations needs massive reform. There's a huge failure here, whether it's incompetence, whether it's deliberate. Obviously, I think we're still yet to find out exactly what's going on here. But we need to have some change there, for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Christopher, as always, it's good to see you. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
I'll tell you what, I went to the post office the other day and when it came out, looked at the receipt when I came out, it still says Horizon on it.
Still using it.
And you just
still using it in post offices. Yeah.
I wonder if the people that you've just been dealing with have got any confidence in what they're doing at all.
Incredible, really, isn't it?
Right, don't go anywhere, because we've got lots of sport to talk about. Paul Coyte's going to be here. Well, he's here already, actually.
He's waiting in the wings. He's very keen, isn't
But
he?
we're going to talk to him in a couple of minutes.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. The M65 in Lancashire is partly blocked westbound by an accident between junctions 8 and 7 near Accrington, causing queues. In Northamptonshire, St Andrews Road in Northampton is closed north of Spencer Bridge Road for an investigation. On the M25 in Hertfordshire, the inside lane's closed anti-clockwise, but there's an accident not far before junction 23 for the A1, with queues from junction 25 for the A10. There are delays of up to 50 minutes, with some cancelled trains between Luton and St Pancras Station in London after an investigation. In London, Abingdon Street remains closed off Parliament Square after yesterday's state opening of Parliament. And in Hampshire, on the A303, the westbound entry slip road from the A343 at the Middle Wallop turnoff near Andover is closed for emergency repairs. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates.
You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister. Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained. I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Tune in to Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan. GB News royalty with your perfect start to the weekend. Lucky us! Feisty and fearless guests.
Well, I'm a normal person, so ask me.
Honest opinions.
That raises more questions than a Gary Barlow tax return.
And a few surprises along the way.
Might be cold in this studio.
That is Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan. 8 to 9 only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Time for the sport. Paul Coyte's here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
How many former winners do you think are playing at the Open today? 152nd Open. How many former winners of the Open are playing?
3.
19.
We're so in sync.
You're both...
19.
You may be in sync, but you're both wrong. 19.
Well.
There are 19 that are playing.
That's lots.
Yeah, all teed off at 6:35 this morning. So the 152nd Open, we should make it clear. Look, there we are, the first tee shot there, which is Justin Leonard. Now, the reason he was chosen is that he was the Open champion for 1997, which was played at Royal Troon, so he had the honour. I wonder if it's more nerve-wracking, because whenever I've played golf, the first tee is always, especially if you've got queues of people around, and they call you to the tee, and then it's just handshaky time. It's an absolute nightmare.
They must be used to it, though, surely.
I think they probably are. I think they're probably slightly better golfers than me, so I don't think they need to worry about that. They did have a little tribute as well to Ivor Robson. By the way, did you see that was a fly? By the way, I'm actually spotting a fly, just in case. What is he doing? Ivor Robson, who passed away, who was always the man that called out the names. He was the starter. Yeah. So you'd always know he's sort of on the tee from Essex, Ellie Costello, and then you get a polite round of applause. So they had a little tribute to him because he passed away this year. Oh, so that was all nice. That was all very nice, and that's how they started. Do you know about the claret jug?
No.
Well, I've heard of it, obviously.
Well, the claret jug. Can we see the jug? This is what the champion gets. The claret jug. This dates back. The original goes back to 1870. There was originally a golf. It's the golf champion belt. So it was originally a belt that they would get. I know, but then they decided to get rid of the belt, and then they have, that's the amateur one on the right, and then the actual claret jug. It's the most famous trophy in golf. Goes back to 1870, 1872.
Is that the original?
That's the second one, because the second one was made in 1928, which was won by Walter Hagen. So every year, and it's called the champion golfer, they get to hold it aloft. But the amazing thing, whereas with Wimbledon, they don't actually get to keep the trophy. They do take the trophy away.
Oh, do they?
And you think, can you imagine the responsibility of having to look after that for a year? Because...
Well, not really. You just pop it on the mantelpiece.
But it's worth a fortune. If anybody nicked it, or, you know, I don't know what you would do with it.
Contents insurance going to go up.
do you think so? Yeah. Is there anything you've got? I hear that you've actually got a very expensive claret jug. No, it's not all that. But you get to keep it for a year. So Brian Harmon, who won it last year, then it's almost like a little presentation. He comes along with the box, hands it back. Always a sad day for the champion golfer for it to go back. But if you do win it, you get to keep it for a year. You get a replica, which is exactly the same size.
Oh, that's good.
And you can order, if you choose, which you'd have to pay for, up to 3 replicas, which are slightly smaller.
For the bathrooms.
And you get to keep those. Yeah, that's what I think.
For your other houses.
Would it be for the other houses? Would you give them out to family?
Yeah.
What would you do? What would you do with the extra?
We had a similar situation with the Trick Award, didn't
we?
Yeah, we did. Remember, there's only one, and there's lots of us. So we thought we should have some replicas, so I can relate to this.
Yes, I did ask for one last year.
Yeah, you did, yeah. And you didn't get one, did you?
One.
But the claret jug, we should go for
chance of me getting a Trick Award. I wasn't even invited, so am I going to get the award? What's going to happen?
Yes, I don't know what happened with that. Because you're an integral part of the show, I would have had you there.
So anyway, the claret jug. So that's the thing. Now, Tiger Woods has won it before, of course. Shall we hear from Tiger? He tees off, by the way, I believe, at 2:37.
2:37.
Oh, so he's had a lie-in.
2:37 this afternoon.
It's very specific.
See, you don't want to do the early shift, do you?
Why does it start so early? Just because there's so many of them?
So many golfers.
Right,
yeah.
OK.
Go on, then.
Go on.
I've been training a lot better. We've been busting it pretty hard in the gym, which has been good. Body's been feeling better to be able to do such things, and it translates. I'm able to hit the ball better. Can't quite stay out there during the practice sessions as long as I'd like, but I'm able to do some things that I haven't done all year, which is nice.
I love press conferences where I go, I'm hoping to hit the ball well and see if I can get the ball in the hole. Oh, yeah. And, and if I do that in less shots than anybody else, I'm going to be the champion here.
Yeah.
He's not going to be the champion, by the way.
Isn't he?
No, there's no way he's going to be the champion. There's talk that Colin Montgomery was saying, probably should retire gracefully. Tiger was very unhappy about that, the fact that he talked about it. But he is not winning like he used to, and he's not getting any younger, and he is not going to win the Open Championship. I think it'd be great if he did, but he's not going to. We've got time for the postage stamp?
Yeah, we've got time for whatever you want.
Have a look at the postage stamp. This is probably the hardest golf hole there is, although it's very, very short. So you'd think, well, this is easy. It's only 123 yards. It's the 8th hole at Royal Troon. Now, if you look at the green, you can see all those bunkers. And it's so hilly. So each time, unless you hit the ball perfectly onto that very small green, you're going to be in all sorts of trouble. They've had a hole-in-one there before, but they've also had someone hit a 15, which makes me feel so much better. Because if you get in that bunker, and one of them, which is called the coffin, I think we can probably see the coffin. Look at that. It's so deep. And how you actually get the ball out of there, even the professional golfers have all sorts of trouble. There we are. Wow. That's the coffin, and it's called the coffin for more reasons than one.
Yeah.
But there you go. It all gets underway. Well, it's all underway now.
Smashing.
2:37 this afternoon, Tiger. And Rory McIlroy tees off at 10:09. Very exact.
I like the precise timing.
10:09.
Paul, thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure.
We shall see you at 8.
Look at this thing.
I know the flies everywhere.
It's driving me crazy.
I know. Right, we've got the papers with Emma Wolfe and Charlie Rowley. That's next.
I like.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment. This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory. Don't miss My Big Opinion, Mark Meets, and My Take at 10. Democracy is a funny old thing. And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
It was also announced that the Prince of Wales is set to star in a new 2-part documentary on ITV covering his mission to try and eradicate homelessness.
Well, let's talk about this and much, much more with Angela Levin, royal biographer, who joins us in the studio. I'm glad to hear that this documentary's been made, Angela, because I worried that he made this big announcement about homelessness and I thought, goodness me, here is somebody who could maybe do something about this. And then it's all seemed to have gone quiet.
He's been very busy with it, actually. He's gone all over the country to see different areas and how they have been, and to try and change people's attitude to homelessness, that they're people who need help and want to get back into a normal life, and he's there to do it. I mean, we mustn't forget that in, I think it was 2009, he slept out in the street to see for himself what it was like. And he also helped people who are selling the magazine.
Big Issue, no?
Yes, The Big Issue. And he's worked all day long with the same man twice now. So I think he was actually just covering the basic about what it was like for him and how he can now help other people. He and Catherine are putting £3 million straight away into that, and it's going to
Where
be...
does that money come from?
Their own foundation, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they're not taking it from our tax or anybody else's, you know. And there will be a lot more. And he's been getting the money to do this. And I think he wants to do this so badly because of his mother. You know, she took them to see people who were homeless.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threats on.
As time passes,
She could have said Storm.
you made my argument for me.
My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Oh, I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Let's go through the papers at 7:49 with Emma Wolfe and Charlie Rowley. Morning to you both. Emma,
Morning.
let's have a look at the Trump supporters who were wearing bandages on their ears yesterday.
This is quite the new kind of political fashion accessory. They obviously, Trump supporters always wear the great big red baseball caps and red ties, the MAGA hats, make America great again. And now we've got this new fashion accessory, which is apparently they've been spotted at the convention wearing white bandages on their ears to show support for Trump after the Saturday night assassination attempt. I mean, there is a serious side to this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in a way, I sort of understand it in a way, in that it is showing support, because, I mean, he must feel like a bit of a twit with that on his ear in public, because you just would, wouldn't you? So, but if you look at it in the crowd and everyone's got one on, then...
Yeah, I think it's a bit weird that they're wearing it, but I also think the reaction to him having a bandage from the left has been really quite unpleasant. You know, look at him milking the situation. Why is he wearing that massive... You know, people joking. I've seen online people wearing sort of massive, great big nappies, sticking them on the side of their head for a joke. It's actually not that funny. His ear, there is quite a lot of flesh there, and it probably did bleed quite a bit.
Yeah, and people wouldn't want to see it. I mean, we don't know how bad that injury is, but if there's a chunk of ear missing, it's the last thing you'd want to see.
We just don't know how badly he was injured. And it was a gunshot wound, so, shot. You know.
No. But it is typical America, isn't it, I suppose, to sort of, whether it's a flag or an image or a cause of some kind, people jump on the bandwagon just as a show of solidarity is one thing, but I think, the Americans doing it in style where you're sort of I mean, Trump's sort of, obviously injured, but he's playing up to this no end. He'd love to, I'm sure, just to show to the public and show to the world that he is still he's the wounded soldier that continues to carry on, and that's what makes America great again.
If he's still wearing it by November,
I think we know that Donald Trump loves a bit of PR, and this is he's probably still injured, but I think he wouldn't be taking it off before time. I don't
know with this when it's an assassination attempt. I don't know. I can't be that cynical about it.
And also, just from a medical point of view, I'm sure that doctors probably say, keep it covered, keep it clean.
I'm surprised he came out as quickly as he did. I mean, he first appeared in public on Monday, and this happened on Saturday. I thought it would have taken a few days.
And I think he discharged himself from hospital very quickly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You've got to show yourself to not be subdued by it, haven't you?
Yeah, but for his base, it's not a good thing, but it works in the narrative that he's quite literally now taken a bullet for his country. I mean, that's the way that they would see it. He's a brave man who...
It was an absolute dream for the campaign, what happened. Of course, it was appalling. No, I'm not making any... Stephen, it was, come on, you have a potential president who looks utterly heroic. He went down,
Defiant,
came right up, saying fight, holding his fist in the air. I thought the way he handled it told us a lot about the man.
Oh, yeah.
You could not have scripted that better. I'm sorry, that was like a Hollywood movie, and it was brilliant for his campaign. Look at the surge in the polls. And that's not to imply that it was in any way engineered, but it was brilliant for his campaign.
It's not something that you'd want or wish on anybody, of course.
No, especially for the people that died.
But just exactly. But it has the impact of just the reality of the situation. It has seen him come out fighting, and he has had that bounce in the polls. But it isn't something that you would wish for yourself or for anyone else.
No. Look, we've only got a minute, but I found this quite interesting, Charlie. We were talking about Biden last week, weren't we? And he was saying only the good Lord could tell me to step out of this race for the presidency. Then he was saying last week, if you show me that the polls indicate I'm going to lose, then I'd step down.
Yes.
And now the latest is I'd quit if there was a serious medical issue.
Yes.
This comes as he's contracted COVID.
Yes, well, call me a cynic again, but I think this is a way in which Joe Biden is now beginning to climb down and realise that it won't be before long before he has to throw in the towel. The polls are showing that he's going to lose the campaign in some swing states. You're seeing Joe Biden, obviously, as you say, contracting COVID now, still giving sort of rumbling, rallying speeches versus Donald Trump that is coming out fighting. They're having a great convention. I think it's only a matter of time now before Joe Biden actually will have to go to the public.
This is his chance, isn't it?
Exactly.
I've been forced out of it by ill health.
Exactly. And I think that would be a way to go to say, I'd love to carry on.
Same face.
But exactly.
Sorry it's short and sweet, you two, but we'll see you a little bit later on. Here's the weather.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. It's going to be a warmer day than yesterday today, dry for much of England and Wales. However, it is much cloudier the further north and west you go. That's because weather fronts are really going to linger over here for the next few days across parts of Northern Ireland and western areas of Scotland in particular. Eastern Scotland should remain largely dry, and for the bulk of England and Wales it's going to be a dry and sunny day, the sunshine lasting well into the afternoon. It's going to be quite strong sunshine, and it will feel fairly hot in the sunshine. In fact, particularly across the southeast where temperatures could climb to 28 degrees this afternoon, but widely will be close to those mid-20s, so warmer than it has been lately for sure. The rain's going to last across western areas and northern areas of Scotland well into this evening as well. It's a little bit fresher the further north and west you go as well, but it is feeling fairly humid even underneath this cloud. Some showers could push into parts of the Lake District, into northwestern areas of England. We could see some rain across the far west of Wales, some cloud pushing into the far west of Cornwall as well later on this evening, so some hazy sunshine to end the day. But further south and east for much of central and southern southern areas of England as well as some eastern areas of Wales. It will remain largely dry and clear overnight. It's going to be a mild night tonight. It could be a little bit uncomfortable for sleeping. Temperatures could come close to 20 degrees overnight tonight, so widely in those high teens where we are close to that more humid air. Now, the bulk of the rain is more restricted further north and west through Friday, so that will allow a bit more in the way of brightness to develop for much of Northern Ireland and Scotland. So temperatures will rise a little bit more, particularly across southeastern areas of Scotland on Friday, but it's the peak of the heat to come on Friday. Temperatures exceeding 30 degrees, potentially across the south and east, widely in those high 20s as well. Bye-bye.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding in Northamptonshire. St Andrews Road in Northampton is closed in both directions north of Spencer Bridge Road for an investigation. On the M1 in Buckinghamshire, the inside lane's closed northbound. There's an accident just after the Newport Pagnell services north of junction 14 at Milton Keynes, causing delays. On the M25 in Hertfordshire, the inside lane's closed anti-clockwise, where there's an accident not far before junction 23 for the A1. Queues are pretty much back to junction 26 at Waltham Abbey. In London, Abingdon Street remains closed off Parliament Square ahead of yesterday's state opening of Parliament. On the M26 in Kent, it's taking 20 minutes in westbound queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks. And on the Isle of Wight, the Cowes Chain Ferry is suspended for maintenance work. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
It's our summer treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest cash prize of the year so far. With an extra £30,000 in your bank account this year, you could take the ultimate financial holiday and send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. £30,000 could get you those nagging home improvements done, buy that brand new car, or just enable you to kick back and relax for the rest of the year. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry. Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained. I just don't know how anyone would not want to be that.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Good morning to you. Britain seeks a new migrant deal with the EU.
Sir Keir Starmer looks to return illegal migrants who make it over the Channel on small boats back to France in exchange for accepting asylum seekers.
Well, the Prime Minister will outline his plans during a meeting with President Macron at the European Political Community Summit later on today.
Yes, good morning from Blenheim Palace here in Oxfordshire. The Prime Minister has just arrived in the last couple of moments. He says that he wants to use this to fire the starting gun on this government's new approach to Europe. I'll bring you more details shortly.
J.D. Vance takes centre stage. Donald Trump's running mate delivers a speech at the Republican convention as he ushers in a new era of American politics.
I will give you everything I have
to serve you and to make this country a place where every dream you have for yourself, your family, and your country will be possible once again.
That's as President Biden pulls out of a campaign speech after being struck down with COVID.
Elsewhere, the Lib Dem leader Sir Ed Davey is set to appear in front of the Post Office inquiry over his handling of the scandal during his time as minister.
The future of Strictly Come Dancing is thrown into disarray after a third pro dancer is identified as a person of interest in the scandal plaguing the series.
Metropolitan Police Commissioner Sir Mark Rowley launches a recruitment drive to boost falling officer numbers. We're asking this morning, is it an attractive career anymore?
Well, now Wimbledon's over, nobody's playing tennis anymore, everybody's going to the golf courses because the 152nd Open is underway with 1997 champion Justin Leonard hitting the first tee shot at 6:35 this morning. Ange Postecoglou is the latest name linked with the vacant England manager's job. Mate, that's not happening. And Chelsea are selling their women's team to themselves.
Good morning. There's a brief hot spell for south and eastern areas to end the week, but how long will it last? Find out all the details with me a little later on.
Just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
And the problem, when you work in television, when you have, we've got obviously earpieces in, you'll know all about them. But because I've got this in this ear and Paul's saying something to me, and I'm like, I have no idea what you said.
Didn't get it.
With Ange Postecoglou.
Oh, right.
Your friend.
Well, Ange, who's the, I'd like to say his friend. But he's not. But there's good, mate. I heard people having a conversation about Ange once, and they were saying, oh, yeah, you don't want to get on the bad side of him. And they said, oh, yeah, what did he say to you? He said, they said, mate. And they went, did you get the good mate or did you get the bad mate? So you get the good mate, it's mate, or you get the bad mate, which is mate.
What did you get?
I got a mate.
I'm not
surprise.
Because wasn't your phone ringing?
My phone was ringing during an interview with about 100 people standing there, and my phone started playing music in my pocket, and I was like, yeah, I can't turn this off. I can't turn it off. And I went to turn it on. I'm trying to do it with a microphone. I'm thinking, I've got to be professional. I'm trying to turn the phone down. I ended up turning it up. It got louder, and then I got, mate.
Oh.
You want to turn your phone down.
It's the bad mate.
It was the bad mate.
Oh, dear.
I know.
Oh, dear. Do you want to get the bad side of Ange?
No.
Mind you, Ange is a funny name. Is he an Angelo?
He's an Angelo. Right. He's an Angelo.
Angelo Postecoglou.
Angelo Postecoglou, and he won't be the next England manager.
No. Just Ange. I just think EastEnders.
EastEnders.
So that's just my age. All I can think of is EastEnders.
I think he gets away with it, though. He's got the tough man image, hasn't he, Ange? It sounds
You're not going to
hard.
say, Ange, that's it. Oh, Ange, OK, fair enough. Yeah, you don't mess with Ange.
No, you don't.
But you never mess with Ange at EastEnders either, so that's...
No, you definitely didn't, no. Luminac.
So it's fitting in that sense.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Yes.
Right, Paul, thank you very much indeed.
See you shortly.
Right, the Prime Minister is going to host the European Political Community Summit today as he begins to reset relations with our European neighbours following years of post-Brexit turmoil.
Well, he's hoping to start talks on shared illegal migration concerns, which could see us take asylum seekers in return for handing back channel-crossing migrants.
Let's talk to our political correspondent, Catherine Forster, who is at Blenheim Palace, where all this is taking place. Morning to you, Catherine. I mean, are we really expecting any progress today?
Well, it is incredible timing that the new Prime Minister, elected not even 2 weeks ago, is already getting the opportunity to personally meet dozens of European leaders. He's hosting about 45 of them here today in Oxfordshire. Of course, last week he was in NATO. The timing of these events really couldn't be better because he's going to be building personal relationships. There's no substitute for meeting people in person. Now, the rhetoric of what he's aiming to do is very fulsome, shall we say. He says he wants to fire the starting gun on this new government's new approach to Europe, the focus will be on security. Now, that was set by Rishi Sunak's government, but it suits Sir Keir Starmer just fine. Security in terms of illegal migration, a challenge that is faced by the whole of Europe. It's not just us that are struggling with this by any means. Some 380,000 people entered the European Union irregularly through irregular means last year. That's up considerably on the year before. And also security in terms of the war, of course, Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine. Now, what Sir Keir Starmer would like is to agree a EU-wide returns agreement. That is not going to happen today or indeed anytime soon, frankly, partly because the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen is fighting for her political career today. She won't be here. But also the EU itself is bogged down in problems and squabbles, frankly, on how to deal with this. But they are talking about how to deal with this challenge now. Sir Keir Starmer will be meeting with Emmanuel Macron. They'll be having dinner tonight. He wants to do some sort of deal with France, which would involve taking a quota of people, potentially children with links to the UK, in exchange for France taking migrants back. So that's possible. Also, Giorgia Meloni is hosting a broader conversation. Olaf Scholz, the German Chancellor, is taking part in that, and that's important because a lot of the boats used by these smuggling gangs come from Germany. So I suspect some progress will be made, but I wouldn't expect anything spectacular today.
OK, Catherine, thank you.
Well, joining us now to tell us more is political commentator Andy Williams. Good to see you this morning, Andy. What do you make of this? Rhetoric, talking shop, or do you think it's a good thing to have the likes of Giorgia Meloni and Olaf Scholz around the table?
Well, I think it's about two things, this summit today. It's partly about diplomacy and Britain's position in the world. So one thing that Keir Starmer feels very strongly is that Britain's standing on the world stage has really suffered in the last 10, 15 years. I think that's right. I think a lot of that is down to Brexit, but also down to some of the prime ministers we've had and the way they've behaved. But that is really important in terms of solving this problem of migration, which is a Europe-wide problem. And actually, it's going to require European leaders across the continent to come together to find a shared solution, because it's not just something we can solve alone.
Well, no, absolutely. However, does that require us to cede some rules off to the EU and say, right, we will take some of your asylum seekers?
Well, I think quite possibly. I mean, it has to be a negotiation. And there's no reason why France... the easiest way to resolve this would be to have an agreement with France where we were able to send people straight back to France. Obviously, they're not going to accept that. So it's really, really difficult. The Rwanda plan clearly didn't work, and that's obviously been jettisoned straight away.
No, come on. We can't say the Rwanda plan didn't work.
I think we can.
Because it never got off the ground. We never got to see if it would work or not.
It took a long time to get anywhere near off the ground, and it wasn't a deterrent. It was clearly not a deterrent because the numbers were going up this year, and they're going to continue to go.
But it hadn't started.
It wasn't a deterrent. I mean, it just really wasn't, because it was in place and everything was set and people were still coming over. I just don't believe, and I don't think it's credible, to think that people are thinking about risking their lives to come across the channel and going, oh, what about on the off chance I might get deported to Rwanda?
But at least it was a deterrent, at least it was a threat. I mean, what we're talking about now is there's not that deterrent factor.
Well, I think
it's saying we're going to have another talk with France. We already sent them £500 million.
I think that what Keir Starmer's trying to do, as he says, is tackle the problem at source, right? So that is going to be easier said than done. Criminal gangs don't give up easily, by definition. But
it's
the
a bit
idea,
like whack-a-mole, isn't it? That's the trouble.
Well, I think it will be, and you know, this is why you're not going to see. This is not going to be an overnight success or a transformation in the situation, but actually, if we're having better, more productive conversations with our European allies, surely we stand a better chance of resolving this.
I mean, the concern, though, with all of this, I mean, something has to be done, and right, it's a slightly new approach, and so perhaps it's worth a punt as far as that goes. What will concern a lot of people is closer ties with the EU. Because, and as you said, you know, you think that our standing on the world stage went down because of Brexit. Well, maybe so, I don't know. But that's what the British people voted for.
Yeah, and some people might say that's a price worth paying, and that's their view. It's not mine. I think from a practical standpoint and from a pragmatic standpoint, they're our closest neighbours, they're our closest geographical allies, and we need to have a productive relationship with Europe. It's not useful or helpful to be at loggerheads with them all the time, as we have been to some extent in recent years. There's a whole separate question about the customs union and the single market, and Keir Starmer's been very clear that we're not going back in to either of those. But there is something about closer ties on things like defence, really, really important, on things like immigration and other issues that can't just be... We need to step away from this mindset that Britain can solve some of the biggest challenges we face alone, because we can't. It requires cooperation.
But all right, perhaps we do need to look at our mindset, but it's the Europeans, isn't it? They've been bloody-minded, frankly, when it comes to the UK.
They have, and it takes two to tango. I know that David Lammy's been working very hard behind the scenes to build relationships with the French government and with Macron's team, for example. Clearly, Germany are going to be a significant partner. So, you know, absolutely, there are some concessions to be made on their side as well, and hopefully they'll see the opportunity of a new government, a new Prime Minister, as a fresh start for relations.
OK. Andy Williams, good to see you this morning. Thank you very much.
Right, so let's head across the pond, should we? Because Donald Trump's newly nominated running mate, J.D. Vance, took centre stage at the Republican convention in Milwaukee.
Well, he vowed to serve America with everything he has as he ushered in a new era of politics.
Our leaders have to remember that America is a nation and its citizens deserve leaders who put its interests first. Now, I pledge to every American, no matter your party, I will give you everything I have to serve you and to make this country a place where every dream you have for yourself, your family, and your country will be possible once again.
Well, members of the crowd showed their support for Donald Trump by wearing bandages on their ears following the assassination attempt at the weekend.
Meanwhile, President Biden has tested positive for COVID, increasing pressure on the ailing leader to step down.
Well, our reporter Ray Addison was talking to some Republicans to find out what they think of the vice president nominee.
I thought he did a great job. I think what he's going to do is provide stability and support for Donald Trump that he needed, and we're excited about him.
What did he say that really struck a chord with you?
I think talking about the American worker and how we want to bring things back to America, making sure that we don't allow China to continue to erode our economy through their actions, and it's going to be exciting to see him and President Trump back in power.
You know, I think that after hearing him speak tonight, I thought he was a much better choice, and he really has a story to tell.
What did you guys think of JD?
Amazing. Can't wait to see what he does.
Why'd you like him?
He's got everything. He's a young father. He's got a gorgeous, beautiful wife. He's a conservative. What's not to like?
He represents the Rust Belt, which is what we need. We need Pennsylvania, we need Michigan, we need Wisconsin. He's the Rust Belt, so that's pretty cool.
How did he turn it around for you? What specifically did he say?
Well, to talk about how his mother went through addiction, and I mean, he came out of nowhere, out of poverty, and what I love is a lot of people yesterday have kind of made amends with Trump, and I think what happened on Saturday really changed people's minds, that he is a person, and he's a human, and he suffers like we do. And I tell you what, though, I'm excited about J.D. Vance. I'm excited. I mean, he came out of nowhere. I mean, he's a rising star. I mean, he's only 39, 40 years old. I mean, he's got a long life in the political party.
Oh, I think he's very excellent choice for vice president. He had a dynamic speech. He comes from very humble beginnings, and it's like make America great again. The opportunities that are here, and we need to keep it here, and that's what he's going to make an effort to do with President Trump.
I thought it was energetic. I thought it was what we needed to hear and what the country needed to hear. Yeah, he is our best choice.
Well,
he's enthusiastic.
Well, very popular choice amongst Republicans there, that Ray was talking to.
I have to say, what I do like is the fact that it's someone younger coming to the fore.
39, yeah.
Which I think is what politics needs in America at the moment. You need some young blood in the game, don't you?
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see the relationship between J.D. Vance and Trump. See how they get along in a working relationship.
Yeah.
It'll be one to watch, for sure.
He does look a little bit like a magician, though, doesn't he?
He does.
Just...
That is very true.
Just look like a magician. I don't know what it is about him.
I think it's the piercing eyes.
There you go.
Have a bit of magic to him.
But it's going to be interesting to find out more about him and actually what he really stands for. So, and it's someone new for us to get our teeth into, if you like, do some digging into. So there you go.
There you go, 8:15. Let's talk about Strictly Come Dancing, shall we? Because the future of the show has been thrown into disarray after a third professional dancer has been identified as a person of interest in the scandal that has been plaguing the series over the past few months.
The BBC has said it's going to introduce chaperones in all rehearsals in a bid to ensure welfare needs are met.
Well, pro dancers Giovanni Panisse and Graziano De Prima won't be returning to the show following the revelations.
That's...
I can't say watch the show.
No, I think... yeah, Graziano, I think.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, something very similar.
Yes.
Let's talk to showbiz reporter Rebecca Twooby. Good to see you, Rebecca, this morning. Look, all laughs aside, I mean, this all seems to be just heading down the pan, frankly, for the BBC.
Yeah, I mean, there is a big point about why the BBC haven't acted sooner and why they seem to fail to act so many times over the years. It appears they've learnt no lessons. But I think the big scandal really at the moment and why people are so interested in this story is that Strictly has always been, in terms of watching it, an entertainment show, a really positive, beautiful thing to watch. It's visually stunning, but also people really connect with it because it's just very sort of, in a way, in inverted commas, innocent entertainment. It's just beautiful dances. Yes, we know there's been scandal before about lots of people finding romance on the show and rumours of affairs and whatnot. But really, overall, it's been without any scandal aside from the romantic stuff. So having something like this and accusations which are quite serious of, you know, apparently some of it appears to be abuse in training sessions. This has really tainted the magic of what is a family show. But what it's also showing is the pressure of reality TV. And now when the BBC moved into this arena in the way that Strictly has, they sort of, you have to realise with reality TV, to put a show of the magnitude and the professionalism and the spectacular that Strictly is, requires an awful lot of hard work, pressure. And there's different approaches, aren't there, to athletic training, to dance training. It is a sport. And some people are okay with that type of training. And as we're witnessing, some people really aren't. And it's not for us to say whether it's right or wrong. It's just some of the understanding here has to be on how much producers sort of in reality shows, this is across the board from Big Brother to Love Island to something like Strictly, which is, shall we say, in the hierarchy of reality shows, the sort of upper echelons, it's still the same mechanics and there's still the same sort of behaviour and the pressure for it to be a huge success.
Yes, of course. And what's Strictly Come Dancing's response been to all of this? We understand that changes are going to be made to ensure that contestants are safe.
So the changes that they're making is that they'll now have chaperones in rehearsals. But the interesting thing is there's always been chaperones on things like X Factor because of obviously the demographic of a lot of the contestants are younger. But there's going to be chaperones now in every rehearsal. But the rehearsals are filmed. This is what's interesting. They've always been filmed because they film an integral part of each episode of Strictly that, you know, viewers can connect and see the journey they've been on. So it'd be interesting to see how much a chaperone changes things because there's already video evidence of training, what goes on in training. And what's interesting is I saw a headline this morning, one journalist was saying men are the problem, it's male dancers with female contestants, but that is not the case because back in 2014, the TV presenter Steve Blackshaw, he actually accused his female dance partner, Ola Jordan, of bullying. He came back later and said, no, that's not the case. But at the time, he felt that his training was very, very intense. So this has been going on for a very long time, and it seems the BBC have been incredibly slow to act. So putting a chaperone in the rehearsals, who knows? And also, who knows how that's actually going to affect the performances? And what is it we want? Do we want celebrities to be having a lovely time in the show and do average dance routines? Or do we want them to be really have a journey, a narrative? Do we want them to have a journey on the show and struggle and be shouted at and have bruises and sore muscles and everything from training, I mean, not from anything else? But what is it we want from the show? Because I think the viewer sometimes can be up in arms with, oh, we need to think about everyone's emotional needs. But when it affects their viewing enjoyment, it'll be very interesting to see sort of how woke and kind of how everyone treated so nicely. But what does that actually mean in terms of entertainment? And that's something I think we'll all have to wrestle with.
OK. Rebecca, good to see you. Thanks very much indeed.
Well, here's what Giovanni Panisse had to say about the accusations against him. He says, "To my dear fans, you'll be surprised, as I am, that allegations have been made about my dance teaching methods in the media this week. Of course, I regret any suggestion of abusive or threatening behaviour, and I look forward to clearing my name."
Graziano De Prima also made a statement. He said, "I deeply regret the events that have led to my departure from Strictly. My intense passion and determination to win might have affected my training regime. Whilst there are aspects of this story involving external influences that I can't discuss at this time, I remain committed to being strong for my family and friends. When the time is right, I will share my story."
The BBC have said that the BBC is today announcing additional steps to strengthen welfare and support on Strictly Come Dancing. Concerns that have arisen in recent months have been fundamentally about training and rehearsals. The actions we announced today are designed to address that.
I couldn't give two hoots.
No.
About any of it.
Lots of the viewers saying exactly the same thing. Steve says, act strictly, just put on something decent instead.
I mean, the professional dancers, they're not going to treat you with kid gloves, are they? I mean, all this whining and moaning and chaperones.
That's what Freddie says. Moaning mini celebrities earning a lot of money, not wanting to put the effort in. Whatever happens, suffering for your art. Angela, professional dancers from ballet will know that it's the hardest training regime. Those who want to be, who stroke their egos to join Strictly need to wake up. It's hard work. You will get shouted at. I don't think I can say the rest.
Yeah, yes. They just want the PR and the money. I don't blame them for that, but... Oh, take it off the air. It's had its time.
Well, maybe that's the way it's going. Can the show survive? Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/you'll say.
OK. Let's get a check on the weather. Here's Annie.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. It's going to be a warmer day than yesterday today, dry for much of England and Wales. However, it is much cloudier the further north and west you go. That's because weather fronts are really going to linger over here for the next few days across parts of Northern Ireland and western areas of Scotland in particular. Eastern Scotland should remain largely dry, and for the bulk of England and Wales it's going to be a dry and sunny day, the sunshine lasting well into the afternoon. It's going to be quite strong sunshine and it will feel fairly hot in the sunshine. In fact, particularly across the southeast where temperatures could climb to 28 degrees this afternoon, but widely will be close to those mid-20s, so warmer than it has been lately for sure. The rain's going to last across western areas and northern areas of Scotland well into this evening as well. It's a little bit fresher the further north and west you go as well, but it is feeling fairly humid even underneath this cloud. Some showers could push into parts of the Lake District, into northwestern areas of England. We could see some rain across the far west of Wales, some cloud pushing into the far west of Cornwall as well later on this evening, so some hazy sunshine to end the day. But further south and east for much of central and southern areas of England, as well as some eastern areas of Wales, it will remain largely dry and clear overnight. It's going to be a mild night tonight. It could be a little bit uncomfortable for sleeping. Temperatures could come close to 20 degrees overnight tonight, so widely in those high teens where we are close to that more humid air. Now, the bulk of the rain is more restricted further north and west through Friday, so that will allow a bit more in the way of brightness to develop for much of Northern Ireland and Scotland. So temperatures will rise a little bit more, particularly across southeastern areas of Scotland on Friday, but it's the peak of the heat to come on Friday. Temperatures exceeding 30 degrees, potentially across the south and east, widely in those high 20s as well. Bye-bye.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, some good news this morning. There's still plenty of time to grab your chance to win £30,000 in the Great British Giveaway. It's our biggest cash prize of the year.
So, if you won all of that, what would you do with it? Well, you've got to be in it to win it. Here's how you join up.
It's our summer treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest cash prize of the year so far. With an extra £30,000 in your bank account this year, you could take the ultimate financial holiday and send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. £30,000 could get you those nagging home improvements done, buy that brand new car, or just enable you to kick back and relax for the rest of the year. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yeah, best of luck to you. Still to come, the thin blue line is getting thinner. So we need people to join the police force. Well, is it an attractive career choice? We're going to debate that next.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
An employment tribunal has found that a senior lawyer telling a legal secretary that she looked nice created an intimidating environment and made her feel violated.
Well, she's won her sexual harassment suit, so is saying someone looks nice acceptable in the workplace anymore?
Well, joining us now to debate this is political commentator Christine Hamilton, who thinks it should be, and author and journalist Rebecca Reid, who thinks making comments like these are unnecessary. OK, Rebecca, why is it unnecessary to tell your colleague they look nice?
Well, how somebody looks at work shouldn't be particularly important or relevant. But I think my issue here is that it's used as a sort of dismissive way to make women feel silly for complaining about things. Like, oh, it's just saying you look nice. Why does it matter? But we all know there are different ways of saying things. And if you are an older man in a position of power, looking a woman up and down and saying, oh, you look nice, in a lascivious tone, which, as far as we know, is quite possibly what happened, that's not acceptable. That's not workplace appropriate, and it would make somebody feel uncomfortable.
Christine, she's right, Rebecca, isn't she? It depends how it's said. If you've got someone who's sleazy saying, oh, you look nice, you're going to be a bit off-put, aren't you?
We don't know whether this was said in a lascivious tone or not. And as far as I can see this particular case, the boss went too far and he did a lot of other things as well. But what worries me is that the tribunal has ruled that just saying you look nice could be included as sexual harassment. Now, I think that is ridiculous.
Realistically, women don't make these accusations for fun. Women don't make these accusations to be difficult. They do it because they've been made to feel unsafe or unable to work in a certain place.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Tune in to Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan. GB News royalty with your perfect start to the weekend. Lucky us. Feisty and fearless guests.
Well, I'm a normal person, so ask me.
Honest opinions that raises more questions than a Gary Barlow tax return. And a few surprises along the way. Might be cold in this studio. That is Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan. 8 to 9 only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now, the Metropolitan Police Commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, is attempting to boost falling officer numbers in a massive recruitment drive.
Well, currently the Met has just under 40,000 officers, 5,000 fewer than 10 years ago.
So today we're asking, is joining the police an attractive career? Let's talk to former police officer Oliver Lawrence and former detective Peter Blexley. Good to see you both. Peter, I mean, should people still be drawn to a policing career?
Yes, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. Whilst modern policing has its challenges, and I must tell anybody that's thinking of joining that don't think it's all about cops and robbers, good guys and bad guys, because the uniformed front line, unfortunately, spends a lot of time dealing with people in crisis, whether that's through alcohol, drugs, mental health, relationship breakdown, all of the above, and much more. But it is still a job where you make a difference every day to people's lives, and the diversity is astonishing. Once you've been in it for a while, you can ride a horse, be a dog handler, be a firearms officer, investigate murders, be a diver and search rivers and lakes and all those kind of things, and much, much, much more. So yes, you'll work with some great colleagues, you'll have frustrations, you'll never get rich, you'll never be universally popular, but yes, still do it.
Oliver, do you think it's an attractive career?
No, far from it. And I think if Sir Robert Peel was still around, he'd be turning in his grave to see the state of British policing today. You know, take some of these examples. Imagine being in an organisation where the red tape is so complex that simple arrests are taking hours and hours. You join a job to make a difference, but spend hours and hours in a hospital looking after vulnerable people. You join a job where colleagues next to you now, some of them, English is a second language. You join a job where senior officers and chief constables make huge announcements, such as calling their organisations institutionally racist without communicating that to the front line. And you join an organisation where the pay doesn't change and pensions have absolutely been decimated over many, many years. And you join a job where colleagues spend their time making TikTok videos and encouraging you to follow their religion rather than policing. This is the state of British policing, and it's not a job that, sadly, I would encourage anyone to do anymore.
What do you make of that, Peter?
Well, I agree that there are huge issues that face policing, but I spent 3 days on the front line with Bedfordshire Police only last week, and I was reminded about so much that is brilliant within policing. I witnessed very close up courage, professionalism, humility, and much more. Policing does have to change, and it will change, or else the current policing model will be found unfit for purpose, and private companies will step in to do the criminal investigation of burglaries and car crime and all that. It's a matter for the police. They can carry on becoming a social service and follow all the wokery and nonsense of their senior officers, or listen to the front line, find out what they want to do, what they need to do, and most importantly, what the public wants, then change and be a proper police service once again.
Oliver, if you had your time again, would you sign up to be a police officer?
Not under the current leadership framework. You know, we see senior leaders being promoted far beyond their capabilities, and it's almost laughable that Sir Mark Rowley wants to encourage a new band of recruits. We're seeing experienced frontline officers leaving in terrifyingly high numbers, leaving sort of frontline officers responding to your 999 calls, having less than 5 years experience, training each other how to be police officers. You know, when Peter and I were in the police service many years ago, that was very, very different. You would be sitting next to somebody with loads of experience and a great deal of capability in training people. You know, policing has changed incredibly drastically. And until we sort of address how we promote our senior leaders, these are the people that are making the policies, having the impacts on frontline. Frontline is always the victim to bad leadership, and it's been going on for far too long. In my opinion, we need to have a hard reset on policing across this country. I would even call for a royal commission to understand how policing makes its decisions. But at the moment, there is not a career that if I was looking for a job, I wouldn't be pursuing.
Yeah, but I suppose you don't improve something, Oliver, by abandoning it, do you? I mean, if nobody is joining, then we're in trouble.
But you know, there's no change. We hear plenty of conversation around we need to do this, we need to do that. We're going to implement change. You know, we're welcoming everybody, but at what cost? You know, we've lowered the standards so significantly for people to get into policing that we're seeing officers who don't have the ability to read or write. Now, that for me is a grave issue which should be challenged right across this country. You know, like it's terrifying to think that somebody who's going to be dealing with your sensitive assault matter or your rape matter or a very complex investigation doesn't understand those very basics. If you can't get that right, what on earth chance have you got of supporting the community?
Peter, do you think we've let standards slip? Because what I'm getting from both of you, actually, is we've lost the art, if you like, of just back to basics policing, just bobbies on the beat, fighting crime.
Undoubtedly, standards have slipped, and Oliver is correct in much of what he says about the appalling state of senior police leadership. the length and breadth of the country. And he's become utterly obsessed with education, gaining qualifications, doctorates, master's degrees, and the such like, all of which have no use whatsoever with regards to practical policing and being esteemed and respected leaders of men and women. But something will have to change, or the current policing model will die. And the best way to effect change, even in a vast echo chamber that is the British Police Service, is to be a part of it. There is still so much great work that can be done, so many different, fulfilling, satisfying roles. And with regards, if you ask me the question you asked Oliver, would you sign up again? There's my pen. Where do I sign?
Yeah. OK. Oliver, Peter, really good to see you both. Thanks very much indeed.
Really good discussion, isn't it, to hear from two men who have vast amounts of experience. And one would sign up again, one wouldn't.
You see, I'd do it. I'd do it.
This is what Stephen wanted to be when he was growing up. He wanted to be a police officer, didn't you?
But a detective or a doctor. Well, I ended up doing this. But
you are technically a doctor.
I am a doctor.
Of poetry.
Yes, but not a doctor of poetry.
Oh, you're not?
No.
I've got the wrong end of the stick with that one.
You've got the stick entirely.
Yeah, I've got a poetry book, though.
But I would, yes, I've got a poetry book out, thank you. However, I'd love to be a detective. I would still love to be a detective.
You should. I think you'd be very good.
I've got a huge amount of respect for Peter and what he's done and what he's seen and and their knowledge and understanding of how you actually approach these things. So I would, if I was starting all over again and was looking for a different career, I'd certainly consider it.
You'd be very good.
And I think
it's all about instinct.
But also, I think we need to... And they're both right. There are a lot of problems, particularly in the Met at the moment. There are a lot of problems with policing. However, I do think you've got to have a lot of respect for the thin blue line and those people who do put themselves in harm's way. I've got huge respect for police officers.
Yeah, and it's the danger that you're exposed to now as a police officer. I mean, it would terrify me. Do keep your views coming in. I'm just seeing if there's any... Debbie says, why would anyone sign up until it changes?
Well, because you've got to be in it to change it. I think you've got to change it from the inside. Anyway, right.
And Gay Billum says, I would like Peter as the senior leader of the police. I think a lot of people would agree with that.
I think he'd be very, very good.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to take a break. Paul Coyte's got all the sport for you in just a minute.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. The M65 in Lancashire is partly blocked westbound by an accident between junctions 4 and 3 near Blackburn, causing delays. On the M56 in Cheshire, there's a lane closed eastbound where someone's broken down between junctions 7 and 6 from Bowden to Hale, and it's sloped towards and past there. In Northamptonshire, St Andrews Road in Northampton is closed in both directions, north of Spencer Bridge Road for an investigation. In London, the A1 Archway Road in Highgate is partly blocked each way by an accident near to the Woodman traffic lights, causing queues. Also in London, Abingdon Street remains closed off Parliament Square after yesterday's state opening of Parliament. On the M26 in Kent, it's taking nearly half an hour in westbound queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks. And on the Isle of Wight, the Cowes Chain Ferry is out of action for maintenance work. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry. Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Paul Coyte's got all your sport. Good morning, Mr. Coyte.
Good morning. You're loving the golf?
Oh,
Do you
yes.
love the golf? Do you play golf?
He's loving the golf.
No, I've never played.
Have you never played?
No.
You'd be very good on the golf course.
You think?
A lot of it's the look, you see. There's,
Oh, yeah.
You get people that they it's all the gear, no idea. There's quite a few people like that.
I'd be one of them. Pantaloons.
But that's it. As long as you look the part, that's the main thing. Go strolling off. It's then when you just can't hit it.
Yeah,
that's the
I'd
thing.
struggle with hitting
Yeah.
I'm not very good at stuff like
I've had a lot of trouble with golf over the years.
Have you?
It's a love-hate thing. I've played probably played once last year. I played in there was like a pro celeb thing. I was neither, by the way, and then found myself in it, and then it was just so embarrassing. And the more frustrated I got, the worse the golf was getting. And then people are walking off, and you can hear tuts.
Oh, I like the gloves though.
But was only one glove?
I've got a thing about gloves.
Have you? But you only wear one.
No, that's ridiculous. Look like Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Or you could put a ring on it and look like Alvin Stardust.
Oh,
how great would that look?
So the pressure was getting to you when you played golf?
The pressure, that's it. You know, there was actually a study, and this is, I read this, funnily enough, today, that golf mentally is the most difficult sport than any other.
Give over.
Well, why not?
That's it, a ball.
Well, it's not, but it's.
And there's a lot of walking around.
A lot of walking about.
Walking. Yeah. Well, as it was said, a good walk spoiled, was what it said years ago.
I'm looking forward to Tiger, though, teeing off at 2:37, is that right?
2:37, Tiger will be teeing off. There he is. There's Tiger himself there, the great Tiger Woods. He's not going to win. I know I keep saying this. This is probably going to make him go even better than maybe he possibly would, but he just doesn't. Since he's had the accidents and trying to get fitness back, and he's not as young as he was either. He's not going to have so much luck going round. He's not very, very unlikely that he's going to win another tournament, especially another Open.
What about Rory?
Rory McIlroy stands a great chance, but we say that every year. We've been saying that for 10 years now, since the last time he actually did win a major. He did speak. I think we could hear from Rory McIlroy. Every golfer was asked questions at the press conference yesterday. This is what Rory had to say.
I'd much rather have these close calls. It means that I'm getting closer. But yeah, absolutely. I'd love to be able to, play the golf and get one over the line. But as soon as I do that, people are going to say, well, when are you going to win your sixth? So it's never ending.
So where do you think he's from then, Elise?
I think he's got a real American twang. I know he's not Irish, but he sounds quite American in that. But he lives in Florida, right?
He does. There's a place called Jupiter, Florida. Oh. There's a place called Jupiter. Long, long way away. They play golf there.
In America.
But in Jupiter, Florida, that's where all the golfers live.
It's a great address, to be fair.
It is, and it's amazing. He lives there, so a lot of them on the PGA Tour. Can you imagine what it's like? I always think go to Jupiter, Florida, because you're going to see great golfers wherever you go. But anyway, it's the 152nd Open. Yeah. It's at Royal Troon, and it all got underway very early, 6:35 this morning.
Who is not going to be the next England manager?
Ange Postecoglou is not going to be the next England manager.
How are you so certain?
Well, it's probably because he's the Tottenham Hotspur manager, and I'm kind of hoping that he doesn't go.
Yeah.
But Ange, he's the latest name that's been thrown up. This is what happens. There's always going to be speculation about who the next England manager is going to be, and then names are going to crop up from all over the place. Someone has mentioned Ange Postecoglou. He was asked about it yesterday. There was a friendly in Scotland, and he did the bad mate. Mate, I was sleeping. I didn't know anything about this. So the chances are, I don't think he would want to go to become the England manager, certainly not yet, because it's a huge project at Spurs. It's only been there for a year, and I don't think that England, with respect to Ange, would also want him to be the next manager, because I still believe that they want an English manager. I still think that's part of it. They want someone from this country.
Do you think that makes a difference, kind of the national pride?
You know what? To me, it doesn't, because I think the most important thing is that you've got a very good football team.
Yeah.
But to some people, it does matter. I mean, in the ideal circumstances, you've got an England team, you've got an English manager who is successful. But sometimes, what do you want to do? Do you want to go for the English manager, or do you want to go with the
We'd like to win a World Cup. That's what we'd like.
That's what we'd like. 2 years to go. That's why they need to make the decision as soon as possible.
Yeah. OK. Paul, we're out of time.
OK.
Thank you very much.
We'll have to save the torch relay for tomorrow. Our very last one. Because the Olympics is just a week away now. Week tomorrow.
It is.
A week tomorrow.
Right. Thank you. We've got the papers heading away in just a moment.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment.
This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory.
Don't miss My Big Opinion, Mark Meets and My Take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm joined now by Stefan Kyriasis to give us the latest on everything theatre.
So, yeah, we're going in first with Starlight Express, which is back. It's not in the West End. It's out at Wembley at the Troubadour Theatre, which is a big, almost kind of warehouse space, which suits because, as you know, have you seen the show?
Starlight Express was my first ever musical. I must have been about 7 or 8 years old. I only saw it once, but I remember it being magical.
Well, this one, it's 1984 it started, and it's still running in Bochum in Germany in a huge arena. So basically what we've got, they've slightly tweaked it, and there's a little boy or little girl, depending on the cast, going to bed, obsessed with toy trains and dreaming of trains. Everybody is dressed up. To me, it looks like a cross between Tron and Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. I don't really think any of them look remotely like a train, but hey, the songs are Andrew Lloyd Webber. It's pop mixed with kind of cod 1950s rock and roll, some power ballads. The lyrics are politely like something out of an old speak and spell machine or something, you know. He's a steam train, they're out of date, he's being bullied by the diesel and the electric, and he falls for this carriage, the first-class carriage, new girl Pearl, and he wants to impress her, so he enters a race, and that's pretty much it. And when the races happen, all these barriers come up around where we're sitting, the lights are flashing, the music's thumping. It's utterly ridiculous, and I felt like a kind of teenager that was huffing sherbet dib-dabs off a giant block of sugar. It's so much fun, and the really crucial thing about it all is that somehow, in the middle of all of that, I just felt myself getting into the story. And when Pearl and Rusty have their little duet, I was very moved, and there's this big starlight sequence, which is the inspiration, the magical starlight that he's seeking. It's beautiful.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threats on.
As time passes,
She could have saved Storm.
you made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter, with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. We are going through the papers now with Emma Wolfe and Charlie Rowley. And Emma, we're going to start with Swiftonomics, because Taylor Swift is affecting the economy.
I mean, literally, Swiftonomics. She's on this mega Eras tour, as we all know. Have we all got tickets? I haven't.
I have. She's been.
And she's literally affecting the global economy in the countries around the world where she visits. I think in Edinburgh there were like seismic earth tremors from the stomping at the concert,
4 miles.
or dancing or whatever.
Is she affecting the economy because she's sucking all the money out of it?
Well, no. Now the Bank of England can actually blame Taylor Swift for the fact that inflation hasn't fallen further. Basically because of the rise in hotel rooms and bars and restaurants and tourism and all the spending that goes on in the cities around the world. They see this sort of surge. That's the reason, apparently, according to the Bank of England, why inflation hasn't fallen below 2% this month. So they've got a tricky decision next month because of Taylor Swift.
So we could have...
Come on, guys, take it seriously.
Paying more on our mortgages because of Taylor Swift.
Well,
there was a tram, you say, in the...
There's a tremor.
Oh, God,
A tremor for 4 miles from Murrayfield Stadium.
Well, I've made the earth move once or twice. But that's another story.
Taylor Swift.
That's a story for another time.
Well, apparently, moving swiftly on, apparently in Vancouver and Toronto, seats are going for up to... This lot, honestly. Seats are going for up to $2,000.
Yeah. Resale is £2,000-3,000. Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. In the Telegraph, Charlie, let's dump you in the Seine, which is the best place for you, because at least it's delicious.
At least it's a bit cleaner than his mind.
Well, this is just ahead of the Olympics. Just when you thought, by the way, that you'd seen enough of politicians donning wetsuits and getting diving, heading to all kinds of water activities. The mayor of Paris, Anne Hidalgo, I think her name is, who's the mayor of Paris, she's plunged into the River Seine to prove that actually the water is safe ahead of the Olympics for the upcoming water sports. There she is.
There she is.
Now, this was scheduled a couple of weeks ago, but it had to be pulled because the levels of bacteria were still too high. But she did pledge that she'd jump in just to prove to all the athletes coming over to Paris that it's all safe.
She plunged in and took a gulp of the Seine.
Yes.
When is she out of hospital?
Well, this I can imagine actually she might be suffering. But she was.
I mean, the water is almost black. Look at that.
Oh,
it's murky.
That's all right.
That is murky.
That's all right. You haven't lived by the Thames. Oh, that's all right.
Oh no.
But I read there was there were 1.4 million or billion. A lot of money went into cleaning up the Seine just for it to be ready. But the fact that the bacteria levels had only just dropped, which made this photo opportunity. Look at her front crawl.
Really hope she's got her mouth closed.
You can just imagine in the run-up to the Olympics, actually those bacteria levels go up again, and the whole thing could be thrown into chaos. But I mean, I'm not a water sports
bacteriologist.
No, I'm not a bacteriologist either. No.
Right.
We'll see how they get on.
Fingers crossed it all stays nice and clean for the Olympics. A dish of yesterday, Emma, in the Mirror.
Oh, I absolutely love this story. Apparently, granny food is making a comeback. So all the retro dishes. Do you remember all the retro dishes that you had as a child?
It's all the best food, isn't it?
Yeah, things like shepherd's pie, toad in the hole, jam roly-poly.
I've never stopped.
Black Forest Gatto. Do you still eat food like that?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's becoming very, very trendy with Gen Z and sort of TikTokers, and they're going back to the kind of retro dishes, comfort food of back in the day.
I love a toad in the hole.
I bet you love a toad in the hole.
Mushy peas, gravy with it. Ooh.
I was very anti mushy peas as a child.
Were you?
Yes, I wouldn't go near them. But now, with a bit of fish and chips, I know that's not quite the same as the traditional feast coming back, but mint mushy peas as well is actually a very yes.
Pineapple,
I'll take you out.
upside down cake is also
that's
popular.
A good one.
Meatloaf, bubble and squeak. What is bubble and squeak?
Leftovers, basically.
Is it all sort of
It's
a bit
cabbage and mashed potato, isn't it?
Yeah. It's traditional
What else,
leftovers,
Emma?
just fried
Steak
off.
and kidney pudding, baked Alaska. That always sounds quite American to me. What's a baked Alaska?
It's baked meringue.
It's like meringue,
Is it like meringue?
Yeah.
It's nice.
Liver, bacon and onions. So the real
That
kind of the
can stay in
hot
the
pot,
past.
Lancashire hot pot. You're a Lancashire lad, aren't you?
Well, Cumbrian. Near enough.
Near enough.
But hot pot, like a hot pot. I remember Betty in Coronation Street, she always served hot pot.
I mean, it's weird how much we've changed. Like my dad, who died when he was 92, when he was a kid, they didn't know about things like pasta. Like, spaghetti. It's funny how those kind of dishes are actually quite new in this country.
Our taste has changed a lot.
Bananas in the war were like an absolute rarity. So it's kind of...
My grandparents, only with us have they tried pasta and things like that, curry. I mean, we're lucky that my granddad wouldn't try it, but my granny was quite open to these things. But our tastes have changed so much in such a short period of time.
And I also think through social media, a lot of people are cooking again. We've always seen, there was a time where Gen Z was sort of not drinking beer so much and moved on to different kind of drinking habits. But now eating habits, I think, are starting to change again, moving away from fast foods.
Summer. I think everybody needs a jam roly-poly and a bit of toad in the hole.
Jam roly-poly and custard.
Custard.
Now that would be...
Everything at school, everything was drowned in custard. You don't really see custard now.
What's the sponge cake you'd have at school with the hundreds and thousands on top?
With
custard.
I don't know.
I'll find out.
Oh, yes.
What about spotted dick?
I'm not mad keen on spotted dick.
Not very nice, and what a ridiculous
Bread and
name.
butter pudding, though.
Yeah, that's...
There you go. Right, we're out of time. Enough of that. Thank you both.
Only managed to get in 23...
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. It's going to be a warmer day than yesterday today, dry for much of England and Wales. However, it is much cloudier the further north and west you go. That's because weather fronts are really going to linger over here for the next few days across parts of Northern Ireland and western areas of Scotland in particular. Eastern Scotland should remain largely dry, and for the bulk of England and Wales it's going to be a dry and sunny day, the sunshine lasting well into the afternoon. It's going to be quite strong sunshine and it will feel fairly hot in the sunshine. In fact, particularly across the southeast where temperatures could climb to 28 degrees this afternoon, but widely will be close to those mid-20s, so warmer than it has been lately for sure. The rain's going to last across western areas and northern areas of Scotland well into this evening as well. It's a little bit fresher the further north and west you go as well, but it is feeling fairly humid even underneath this cloud. Some showers could push into parts of the Lake District, into northwestern areas of England. We could see some rain across the far west of Wales, some cloud pushing into the far west of Cornwall as well later on this evening, so some hazy sunshine to end the day. But further south and east for much of central and southern areas of England as well as some eastern areas of Wales, it will remain largely dry and clear overnight. It's going to be a mild night tonight. It could be a little bit uncomfortable for sleeping. Temperatures could come close to 20 degrees overnight tonight, so widely in those high teens when we are close to that more humid air. Now the bulk of the rain is more restricted further north and west through Friday, so that will allow a bit more in the way of brightness to develop for much of Northern Ireland and Scotland. So temperatures will rise a little bit more, particularly across southeastern areas of Scotland on Friday, but it's the peak of the heat to come on Friday. Temperatures exceeding 30 degrees, potentially across the south and east, widely in those high 20s as well. Bye-bye.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Tyne and Wear, the A19 is partly blocked northbound by an accident between the Herrington interchange and Pennywell, causing queues from the Seaton interchange. The M65 in Lancashire is partly blocked westbound by an accident between junctions 4 and 3 near Blackburn, with queues from junction 2. On the M66 in Greater Manchester, the northbound exit at junction 2 at Bury is closed because of an accident causing queues. On the M56 in Cheshire, there's a lane closed eastbound where someone's broken down between junctions 7 and 6 from Bowden to Hale. In Northamptonshire, the A14 is partly blocked eastbound where a lorry's broken down just before junction 13 at Thrapston, taking 20 minutes in queues from junction 11 at Findon. In Cambridgeshire, the A14 is blocked westbound where a vehicle caught fire just after junction 34 at Fenditton, queues from junction 35 at Stoke-on-Quay. And in London, the A1 Archway Road in Highgate is partly blocked each way by an accident causing queues. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
£30,000 in tax-free cash really could be yours. It's our biggest cash prize of the year so far, and you could be getting that winning call from us to tell you that you're our next Great British Giveaway winner.
I can't believe this.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
That is absolutely fantastic.
We're over the moon.
I've never won anything like this in my life.
Oh, you shocked me. I never won a penny in my life.
If I was there, I'd buy you a drink.
For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true.
You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Britain seeks a new migrant deal with the EU.
Sir Keir Starmer looks to return illegal migrants who make it over the Channel on small boats back to France in exchange for accepting asylum seekers.
Well, the Prime Minister will outline his plans during a meeting with President Macron at the European Political Community Summit later on today.
Yes, good morning from Blenheim Palace, where the Prime Minister is hosting 45 European leaders and talking about security, whether that be support for Ukraine or the huge challenges of illegal migration, hoping to reset our relationship with Europe. I'll bring you the details shortly.
J.D. Vance takes centre stage. Donald Trump's running mate delivers a speech at the Republican convention as he ushers in a new era of American politics.
I will give you everything I have to serve you and to make this country a place where every dream you have for yourself, your family, and your country will be possible once again.
Well, that's as President Biden pulls out of a campaign speech after being struck down with COVID.
Elsewhere, Lib Dem leader Sir Ed Davey is set to appear in front of the Post Office inquiry over his handling of the scandal during his time as minister.
The future of Strictly Come Dancing thrown into disarray after a third pro dancer is identified as a person of interest in the scandal plaguing the series.
Metropolitan Police Commissioner Sir Mark Rowley launches a recruitment drive to boost falling officer numbers. We're asking this morning, is it even an attractive career anymore?
Good morning. There's a brief hot spell for south and eastern areas to end the week, but how long will it last? Find out all the details with me a little later on.
Just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast. Loads of you getting in touch on granny food making a comeback. That's what it's being dubbed. That's what it's being dubbed in the papers. Yeah, granny food. Things like toad in the hole.
I'm craving toad in the hole.
Shepherd's pie. You need to ask for it for dinner.
I'm not as mad on shepherd's pie.
I love shepherd's pie.
But toad in the hole, mushy peas, onion gravy.
Oh, yum.
Lots and lots and lots.
I think you need to put in a request for dinner. I was asking about the sponge cake with icing and sprinkles that you have at school, and Anita said, Ellie, it's Tottenham cake. It is Tottenham cake.
Oh.
Yes, and lots of you getting in touch with your favourite granny food. Debbie says mint custard and chocolate brownies.
Mint custard?
Yeah, never heard of that. Sounds good, doesn't it?
Oh, I'd try it.
Yeah.
I'd try it.
Sounds very good. Alan's telling you off, saying, come on, Stephen, you missed a chance to promote the Cumberland Hot Pot.
Yeah, but that's got Cumberland sausage in it.
Yeah.
So, but I don't eat that.
Oh, right, yeah. Sorry, I forget you're vegetarian, yes, sorry. Ruby, hot apple crumble. Blackberry crumble as well with vanilla ice cream.
Oh,
Yum.
rhubarb crumble.
That's a good one.
Oh, I love a rhubarb crumble.
Yeah. And tripe from the Chippy. I'm not sure about that.
Oh, no. Tripe. Tripe's very old-fashioned.
Yeah,
My mother used to
very
eat
old-fashioned.
tripe.
And last one from Sue, who says, granny food, well, I made an egg custard tart and some rock buns at the weekend. I always used to make rock buns.
Yeah.
Make us hungry this morning.
I used to make a mean herb scone.
Right.
Apparently. See, long when I was at secondary
herb scone?
Herb scone, cheese and herb scones.
He likes his cheese, you see. You've got a very savoury tooth.
I have got a savoury tooth.
I've got a sweet tooth, and that's why we get along.
Oh, is it?
We're opposites.
I'll never pinch your chocolate.
Yeah, and vice versa. I wouldn't pinch your cheese or your crisps.
Yeah. Ooh.
And that makes me your friend. Right. Should we crack on?
I'm starving.
And me too. We always get you going on food.
Right, before I start drooling, the Prime Minister will host a European Political Community Summit today as he begins to reset relations with our European neighbours following years of, it's got to be said, post-Brexit turmoil.
Well, he's hoping to start talks on shared illegal migration concerns, which could see us take asylum seekers in return for handing back Channel crossing migrants.
Let's talk to our political correspondent, Catherine Forster, who's at Blenheim Palace, where all this is taking place. And there'll be a lot of people, Catherine, not very happy at the idea of of developing closer ties with the EU, but is it going to be inevitable in order to try and deal with the migrant crisis?
Yes, good morning, Stephen and Ellie from Blenheim Palace. I think it is, to be honest, because, of course, the challenge of illegal migration is not something that's only happening here in Britain with the Channel crossings. It's happening right across Europe. Some 380,000 entered the European Union illegally last year. This is a challenge that the whole of Europe is having to deal with. And the whole point of what Sir Keir Starmer wants to do is basically stop these migrants reaching Britain in the first place, and to do that they have to stop them crossing Europe. They have to intercept them and crack down on the smuggling gangs, as he has said, because let's face it, they've just put the Rwanda plan that the previous Prime Minister Rishi Sunak promised that flights would have gone this summer, that would potentially have been a big deterrent. That has all gone in the bin. So certainly they do need to work closely with our partners in Europe. I think that's inevitable. However, of course, we are no longer in the European Union. So what Sir Keir Starmer wants and what Sir Keir Starmer is likely to get may well be two different things, because, of course, he's made it clear we're not going back into the European Union, we're not going back into the customs union, the single market, but he does want a closer relationship for trade, to ease, trading tensions that there are and barriers, and also in terms of cracking down on illegal migration. Now, what he would really like is to get some sort of security pact, get into the European Union's fingerprint system if they possibly could. That would be hugely, hugely helpful. So he said that border security will be at the heart of the government's reset with Europe. He's going to be having a meeting with Emmanuel Macron. There's possibility of some further deal with France specifically, but in terms of some sort of EU-wide returns agreement, that is not going to be happening, and certainly not anytime soon, partly because Ursula von der Leyen of the European Commission is not even here. She's fighting for re-election, and partly because these are rows that are happening within the European Union and within Europe themselves. No real agreement on how to deal with this huge, huge problem.
Catherine Forster there for us at Blenheim Palace. Thank you very much. Let's speak now to political commentator Andy Williams. Good to see you this morning, Andy. And lots of people won't be very happy with this. Just been taking a look at the views on gbnews.com/you'll say. People saying, well, they voted to take control of our borders, voted for Brexit, and what it looks like is being spoken about at the very least is giving back with one hand and then taking back with another.
Well, I think if you look at the Brexit deal, it didn't actually deliver on the expression of views that people gave via the referendum result around tightening up our borders. The Brexit deal on legal migration was very, very relaxed. And as a result, net migration has run at about 700,000 in the last 2 years. Now, I know we're talking about small boats here, and that's a different challenge. But we need to, there are always trade-offs with these things, and we're going to have to cooperate with our European allies, and we're going to have to build relationships and come to some agreement with them in order to get things done.
I mean, look, I suppose the argument is going to be if we can stop illegal migration, then the numbers of asylum seekers would be taken as our sort of fair share of being part of a deal, if you like. The numbers would be smaller. But it's all up in the air. There's no guarantee of any of it. That's the problem.
Well, I think we need to separate out, asylum seekers who are fleeing countries where there are wars, who are fleeing persecution and other things where I think we do have a sort of moral responsibility, and not everyone would agree with that. Well,
we do, and there are legal routes for them to come here already, though, of course, it's argued that those legal routes are difficult to manage.
Exactly. And so if there is some agreement whereby we can make it more difficult for people to come across the Channel, or where it's easier to send them back to safe countries in return for taking more asylum seekers, which is a legal route, then I think that would be quite a good outcome. I think the important thing to remember is that if you look at the overall, what people seem to be frustrated about is the sheer number of people coming to Britain every year, so net migration figure. And the small boats number is a relatively small proportion of that. So it's an important aspect, but it is only one part of the issue.
Well, except the illegal side of it is people then coming in and not all, but certainly a lot of them, then going into the black economy.
Yeah, and I think one thing that the last government really didn't have a grip on is who was here, where they were going, or what they were doing next. And so part of it is there's a lot of actually really boring bureaucratic aspects to solving this that need to be done. So Keir Starmer's talking about setting up a rapid returns unit to make it easier to get people back to safe countries faster. That's not a very sexy thing, but it's probably quite a good thing.
We're seeing live pictures now of Blenheim Palace. So Keir Starmer just on the steps there of Blenheim Palace. He's doing the meet and greet, meeting the state's men and women as they come up those steps. How much of this is going to lead to action, do you think, Andy, or is it all just posturing?
Well, clearly there's a sort of symbolic element to it, and it's a bit of pageantry, and it's supposed to make everybody, all of these leaders, look good on the world stage. So yes, there's some posturing, but hopefully there are going to be some productive conversations today. I know that there's a breakout session on migration with the Italian Prime Minister, for example, with the Albanian Prime Minister. And to be fair to Rishi Sunak's government, they did actually make progress, for example, on getting the number of people from Albania dramatically down. So there is proof that these sorts of dialogues with world leaders can make a difference if they're productive.
Yeah. OK. Andy, thank you very much indeed. And we'll leave those pictures from Blenheim Palace, which looks beautiful in the sunshine.
It really does, yeah.
I don't know, it's a difficult one. Part of me sort of thinks, well, got to try something.
It's worth a try, perhaps, yeah.
Worth a punt.
But it is going to make people a lot of nervous, isn't it? Closer ties with the EU, more money to France. And
well, possibly. I suppose it might be more.
Well,
money.
It'll have to be if it's a new plan, new agreement.
Yeah, but would it be money to France? Because the difference with this is that what we've tried to do before is unilateral, isn't it? It's just dealing with France, and this is about dealing with all of Europe because obviously that's where the rules come from, in effect, and all of this. So he's going to be working with Europe, with the EU, going to make a significant difference. It might do. But it might not.
But it is a good thing that Italy and Germany are around the table. They haven't been around the table for these conversations before. And Germany is important because that's where so many of the boats are actually made. These small boats across the channel. So them being at the table is a good start. It's a positive start. And let's hope some action comes.
Right, let's head across the Atlantic because Donald Trump's newly nominated running mate, J.D. Vance, took centre stage at the Republican convention in Milwaukee last night.
Well, he vowed to serve America with everything he has as he ushered in a new era of politics.
Our leaders have to remember that America is a nation and its citizens deserve leaders who put its interests first. Now, I pledge to every American, no matter your party, I will give you everything I have to serve you and to make this country a place where every dream you have for yourself, your family, and your country will be possible once again.
Well, this comes as members of the crowd showed their support for Donald Trump by wearing bandages on their ears. Now, of course, this follows Saturday's assassination attempt.
Well, meanwhile, President Biden has tested positive for COVID, increasing pressure on the ailing leader to step down.
Well, earlier we spoke to former Nevada Republican Party chairwoman Amy Tarkanian.
He's somebody who President Trump can use as a pit bull while he tries to become the statesman of the pair. And he's somebody who is very well spoken. He's calculated. He's smart. Whether if you agree with his stances or not, he is somebody who I think is able to carry the torch for President Trump in a way where many others could not. President Trump has a certain tone and demeanor, as we all know, and I think that JD is going to do very well in emulating that to some extent. If something, heaven forbid, were to happen, I think that President Trump sees a lot of himself in JD and would probably feel pretty comfortable and confident knowing that he could pick up from where he left off.
What did you think of JD's first speech? He vowed to serve America with everything he has.
Well, he was also a Marine, so it's hard to argue that that he doesn't mean that. I'm not actually a huge fan of his, but I do like the fact that he did serve in the military, and I think that's a huge positive. President Trump did not. And so I think that adds to the credibility of the two being paired together. And I thought it was brilliant to have his wife do the introduction, and the fact that the entire nation, if not the entire world, is now getting the introduction on who this couple is, who is this power couple. And so the fact that they had her on first, I thought was very smart.
Is he someone who is likely to sort of temper Trump a little bit? I mean, in the sense, I mean, a lot of people like Trump's style, but it's about winning people over again, isn't it? It's about winning those key people in swing states.
Well, no, I don't think that he's going to temper him. I think he's going to allow him to seem the more level-headed of the two. As we've watched in the last couple of weeks, when President Biden is actually, falling quickly in the polls, and we're also able to see with our own eyes that he's struggling physically and mentally. He has very wisely listened to strategists tell him to remain mum. And so I think that gives an opening for somebody like J.D. Vance to come in and play bad cop, so to speak. And so then President Trump can look like he's more of the presidential of the two, somebody who is going to be a little bit more calm of the two, even though he's not calm.
Well, our reporter Ray Addison asked Republicans there just what they thought of J.D. Vance.
I thought he did a great job. I think what he's going to do is provide stability and support for Donald Trump that he needed, and we're excited about him.
What did he say that really struck a chord with you?
I think talking about the American worker and how we want to bring things back to America, making sure that we don't allow China to continue to erode our economy through their actions, and it's going to be exciting to see him and President Trump back in power.
You know, I think that after hearing him speak tonight, I thought he was a much better choice, and he really has a story to tell.
What did you guys think of JD?
Amazing. Can't wait to see what he does.
Why'd you like him?
He's got everything. He's a young father. He's got a gorgeous, beautiful wife. He's a conservative. What's not to like?
He represents the Rust Belt, which is what we need. We need Pennsylvania, we need Michigan, we need Wisconsin. He's the Rust Belt, so that's pretty cool.
How did he turn it around for you? What specifically did he say?
Well, to talk about how his mother went through addiction, and I mean, he came out of nowhere, out of poverty, and what I love is a lot of people yesterday have kind of made amends with Trump, and I think what happened on Saturday really changed people's minds, that he is a person, and he's a human, and he suffers like we do. And I tell you what, though, I'm excited about J.D. Vance. I'm excited. I mean, he came out of nowhere. I mean, he's a rising star. I mean, he's only 39, 40 years old. I mean, he's got a long life in the political party.
Oh, I think he's very excellent choice for vice president. He had a dynamic speech. He comes from very humble beginnings, and it's like make America great again. The opportunities that are here, and we need to keep it here, and that's what he's going to make an effort to do with President Trump.
I thought it was energetic. I thought it was what we needed to hear and what the country needed to hear. Yeah, he is our best choice.
Well, he's a very popular candidate there from the people that Ray was talking to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there's some good news for you this morning. There's still plenty of time to grab your chance to win £30,000 in the Great British Giveaway. It's our biggest cash prize of the year.
What would you do with all that extra money? I know what I'd do, but I can't enter it. But you can. Here's how.
£30,000 in tax-free cash really could be yours. It's our biggest cash prize of the year so far. And you could be getting that winning call from us to tell you that you're our next Great British Giveaway winner.
I can't believe this.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
That is absolutely fantastic.
We're over the moon.
I've never won anything like this in my life.
Oh, you're
stops me. I never want a penny in my life. If I was there, I'd buy you a drink.
For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain's Newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Well, we've got quite an extraordinary story to talk to you about now because a triple amputee war hero is launching a bid to become the first to sail across the Pacific Ocean non-stop, solo and unsupported.
Craig Wood was blown up as a teenager by the Taliban in Afghanistan, but now he's hoping to change the perception of disabled people and raise money for other limbless veterans like himself. And Craig joins us now. Morning.
So, Craig, you are extraordinary. You are planning to take up to 80 days to sail from La Paz in Mexico to Japan.
Yeah.
How many miles is that?
It'll be over 6,000.
Amazing.
Amazing. And it will take you how long?
The minimum it's going to take me is 60 days. It could be up to 80. Yeah.
And that's on your own. You've done plenty of this before, haven't you? You've done lots of solo sailing.
Yeah, I've done quite a bit of solo sailing, but not as big as this. It is the world's biggest ocean, after all.
And why that particular route?
I wanted it to be a challenge, not just for me, but for anyone.
Right.
So any able-bodied person can look at this and go, wow, that is difficult.
Yeah.
And so that was the main drive. Then it's become a bigger thing than that now. Now I'm raising money for charity and I can truly inspire people to change their perception on what is possible for disabled people.
And if you don't mind, can we ask you what happened in 2009 in Afghanistan? What were the circumstances of your injury?
I was on a normal routine foot patrol. About 5 metres in front of me, a commando IED was triggered. And subsequently, I became a triple amputee. Both legs above the knee, left hand at the wrist, facial injuries, etc., etc.
The People's Channel.
Now, the Welsh Government's under fire for passing a bill that offers financial assistance schemes to promote diversity candidates.
Well, joining us now is our national reporter, Charlie Peters. Very good morning to you, Charlie. What have you uncovered?
Well, it's called the Elections and Elected Bodies Bill. It only passed last week, so it's seeking royal assent now. And it's designed, according to the Welsh Government, to advance the electoral system in Wales. But also, under its subsect, it's got this section about diversity. So one of its big drives is going to start the process for another 400,000 people to be automatically registered in the electoral register, which is a big move. But also, within all of that, there's a lot of focus on Wales at the moment due to the First Minister resigning. We've had a look at this bill. Section 27 of this bill says that ministers must take notice on the diversity of candidates and elected members of all bodies in Wales, so not just the Senedd, but also local elections. And the next section, 28, permits them to pass financial schemes of any kind that they see fit to promote diversity among candidates. And they say that's going to be done around specific or specified characteristics. This bill's already passed, but when I asked the Welsh Government which characteristics will they be, they wouldn't tell me. So they've yet to set out clearly who will receive this cash to promote diversity within Welsh politics. Now, as you can imagine, this has come under some criticism. The Taxpayers Alliance told me that it was a preposterous policy that should be chucked into the bin. They said that they shouldn't be treated differently based on their characteristics. You shouldn't get more money if you're from an underrepresented minority group just trying to get into Parliament. They said it was an unfair burden on taxpayers and also a violation of democratic principles. That's very strong criticism. On the other hand, when I asked the Welsh Government, who, again, wouldn't tell me which characteristics would get this cash to run for elected office, they said that it's vital that our elected bodies represent the diversity of people in Wales. This legislation will pave the way in tackling barriers to participation. They added that we will set out proposals for what these protected characteristics will be shortly, and these will be developed and consulted upon widely. They'll play no part in determining any financial assistance to possible candidates.
OK. Charlie Peters, thank you very much indeed.
That is it from us. Britain's newsroom is here next. But first, here's your weather.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. It's going to be a warmer day than yesterday today, dry for much of England and Wales. However, it is much cloudier the further north and west you go. That's because weather fronts are really going to linger over here for the next few days across parts of Northern Ireland and western areas of Scotland in particular. Eastern Scotland should remain largely dry, and for the bulk of England and Wales it's going to be a dry and sunny day, the sunshine lasting well into the afternoon. It's going to be quite strong sunshine and it will feel fairly hot in the sunshine. In fact, particularly across the southeast where temperatures could climb to 28 degrees this afternoon, but widely will be close to those mid-20s, so warmer than it has been lately for sure. The rain's going to last across western areas and northern areas of Scotland well into this evening as well. It's a little bit fresher the further north and west you go as well, but it is feeling fairly humid even underneath this cloud. Some showers could push into parts of the Lake District, into northwestern areas of England. We could see some rain across the far west of Wales, some cloud pushing into the far west of Cornwall as well later on this evening, so some hazy sunshine to end the day. But further south and east for much of central and southern areas of England as well as the eastern areas of Wales, it will remain largely dry and clear overnight. It's going to be a mild night tonight. It could be a little bit uncomfortable for sleeping. Temperatures could come close to 20 degrees overnight tonight, so widely in those high teens where we are close to that more humid air. Now the bulk of the rain is more restricted further north and west through Friday, so that will allow a bit more in the way of brightness to develop for much of Northern Ireland and Scotland. So temperatures will rise a little bit more, particularly across southeastern areas of Scotland on Friday, but it's the peak of the heat to come on Friday. Temperatures exceeding 30 degrees, potentially across the south and east, widely in those high 20s as well. Bye-bye.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Tyne and Wear, the A19 is partly blocked northbound by an accident between the Herrington interchange and Pennywell. It's taking around 3/4 of an hour in queues from the Seaton interchange. On the M66 in Greater Manchester, the northbound exit at Junction 2 for the A58 at Bury is closed because of an accident. There are long delays towards there with queues from Junction 4 at Simister Island. In Suffolk, the